In today's video, we're going to be starting and completing the entire Mages Guild questline in the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion. This video is a master compilation of all of the Mages Guild questline parts that are up on this channel. Before we begin, if you watch the individual parts, each quest is divided into chapters. You'll notice in this master compilation that the chapters will count up to 4, then go back down to 1, etc. And that's because to me, it was more trouble than it was worth to fix each individual chapter number from each of the separate videos. That being said, I really hope that doesn't bother your viewing experience, and without further ado, let's begin our journey into the Mages Guild. We begin our adventure through the questline by going to one of the guild halls and asking to join the Mages Guild. In this case, I decided to start off in the city of Bruma. We need to receive a recommendation from 7 of the 9 major cities. The 2 exceptions are the Imperial City and Kvatch. We begin by speaking with the guild hall leader, Jean Frisoric.
Hello there! Are you here to join the Mages Guild? The guild is always accepting new members. You seem capable enough. Are you sure you want to join? Very good. You are now an associate of the Mages Guild. What a wonderful opportunity for you. Now, please keep in mind that you'll need recommendations from every local guild hall in Cyrodiil before you may enter the Arcane University. I dare say my opinion might carry more weight than others, if you take my meaning. Still, all are necessary to proceed. Good luck to you. A recommendation from me? Well, of course. Raminus would naturally want my opinion, wouldn't he? This is a situation we can both benefit from, associate. You do me a small favour, and I'll happily send along a glowing recommendation. If you can find Jaskar, I'll write the recommendation immediately. He's disappeared. I mean, he's really disappeared. No one here has seen him in days. Volinaro thinks maybe a spell backfired. If someone from the council were to stop by and find him gone, it'd look bad for me. I can't have that. Talk to the mages here and see what you can find out. If you can make Jaskar reappear, you'll have your recommendation.
Lucky for us, Volinaro happens to be in the room beside Jean.
Volinaro, at your service. Need a spell? Need an item recharged? Need a witty practical joke played on someone? I can handle it all. You want to find Jaskar? All right, I think I can help with that. But you have to agree to do something for me first. And whatever you do, you can't tell Jean about it, all right? That's the spirit. You help me pull off a little prank, and I'll help you find Jaskar. Really? You're going to love this. I'll teach you a spell to unlock things. What you need to do is get into Jean's desk and bring me her manual of spellcraft, okay? Her room is upstairs. Make sure no one sees you. You do that for me, and I'll make sure you can find Jaskar. Bring me Jean's manual of spellcraft, and then we'll talk about helping you find Jaskar. With all due respect to our wonderful leader, she couldn't cast her way out of a paper sack. It's insulting that we're here, working for her, when she knows nothing. She's managed to butter up the right people just enough to keep her position, and there's little we can do about it. But we have our ways of coping with the situation. Just go unlock Jean's desk with that spell I taught you. Find her manual of spellcraft, and bring it here to me. Her room should be easy to find. It's the only one upstairs that has a door. Just one more privilege she doesn't deserve.
Clearly there's some animosity between a few of the guildmates. However, our current task at hand is to go up to Jean's office, break into her desk, and steal a book. We were given a spell to help us break into the desk, but my alteration level is extremely low, so we had to do it the old-fashioned way with a lockpick. Inside, we find a manual of spellcraft, clearly showing that magic is not Jean's strong point. With the book now in our inventory, we proceed back to Volinaro. We found him in the lower levels of the Mages Guild.
How have you pulled that little prank yet? You've got Jean's book, I see. All right then, I'll just take that from you. Meet me here in the living quarters, just after 10 p.m.
Fun fact, the Khajiit we're looking for, Jaskar, is actually in the room with us.
Go away. You'll ruin everything.
They were clearly using some invisibility spell, however, we waited until 10 and spoke again with Volinaro.
Ready to find Jaskar? Just watch. You'll see.
Hello there. I hear you've been looking for me.
Oh, please don't be mad. We were just having some fun. We just got tired of Jean lording her position over us when she barely knows anything about magic. Every now and then, we like to trick her. We figured it was time to move on to a new prank. This one was getting boring anyway, so you can tell her you found me. Well, it was fun while it lasted. I'll have to start thinking up something new to try. Finding ways to confuse her just never gets old for me. It's good practice of our skills, too, but it's mostly just funny.
So with that, Jaskar has finally been found and we can return back to Jean for our recommendation. We went up to her office and promptly spoke with her.
Any luck finding Jaskar? Found him, did you? Well, I suppose that's good. You'll have to forgive me. I seem to have misplaced something. Yes, well, let's never mind that. You've fulfilled your end of the bargain, though, so I'll fulfill mine. Ramanus will have my recommendation. And don't you forget about me once you've finished your training. I'm sure we can help each other out.
And with the finding of Jaskar, we've received our first Mages Guild recommendation from the Bruma Hall. This is honestly probably tied for the shortest amount of effort and work needed to put into one of these recommendations. At no point did we ever have to leave the hall, nor did we ever have to do anything that was out of our skill level. Volinaro and Jaskar will continue to prank Jean, and Jean will probably have a lot of difficulty casting spells. The second recommendation we're going to strive for today is from the Cheydinhal Mages Guild Hall. This one, in my opinion, is up there for the most entertaining and interesting, as there's a lot of foreshadowing that goes on here. I couldn't find the guild hall leader, so I had to wait around a bit, and finally the infamous Falcar showed his face.
What is it, associate? Don't tell me you're here for a recommendation. Don't waste my time if you're not ready for this. Are you prepared to do what is necessary to gain a recommendation from me? Very well. We shall see how prepared you actually are. There was a particular ring of burden I was testing some time ago. Another stupid associate somehow got his hands on it and managed to misplace it. If I didn't know better, I'd say he purposely tossed it down the well behind the guild hall. Why he would do such a thing is beyond me. You will retrieve this ring for me. Should you manage to do so, I shall consider sending a recommendation to the university. The well is locked, so you'll need the key. Dietzen should have a copy of it. Now get moving. It's not a normal ring, you see. You may find it slightly difficult to carry. Don't say I didn't warn you. I believe I explained your task very clearly. Find the ring, which is somewhere down in the well behind the guild hall. Bring it to me. Do you understand, or do I need to use even smaller words?
Apart from some overall grumpiness, seems easy enough and pretty straightforward. We seek out Dietzen and speak with her.
I'm Dizan, magician, Mages Guild, that is. Don't tell me Falcar's given you the same task he gave Vidkun. Oh, dear, I'd say more, but... Well, Falcar is the ranking member here, and I don't feel comfortable talking about him. I'm sorry. I'll tell you what. Find me when Falcar's not around, and then we'll talk. After we've spoken, you can have the key. Believe me, this is important.
That was an interesting conversation with Dizan. There might be more than meets the eye when it comes to this task and when it comes to the guild leader Falcar. We wait a little bit until Falcar is not around and speak again with Dizan.
It's my pleasure. Please continue. We can talk, so long as Falcar is out of earshot. If I didn't know any better, I'd say he's trying to get you killed. He gave poor Vidkun the same task, and we never saw him again. I'm reasonably sure there's a connection, but I can't prove it. Do be careful. I'd hate to lose another useful associate. Here's the key, and something extra. I don't know if it will be of use to you, but from what I've heard of Falcar's ring, it may come in handy. And if you find out anything about what happened to Vidkun, let me know, will you? He was an associate, just like yourself. Perhaps not the brightest, but very eager. He was given his assignment from Falcar and disappeared. It's like he dropped out of existence. No one knows what happened, and Falcar won't say a word about it. Just perform the task you've been given. We'll talk more once you're done.
Dizan seems to think that this is a setup by Falcar, as the previous associate was tasked with the same job and they were never seen again. We're urged to proceed with extreme caution and to expect anything, especially with this mysteriously enchanted ring. All that's left is for us to go down into this well and retrieve Falcar's experimental enchantment. We're immediately met with an underwater area. There aren't many ways to go, and we actually find the body of Vidkun pretty quickly. Looking into his inventory, we find the Ring of Burden. It's here that we notice that it actually has a weight of 150. If we were to pick up this ring right now, we would easily become over-encumbered, leaving us to the same fate as Vidkun. So, in this moment, we went back into Vidkun's inventory and dropped at least 150 pounds of our equipment into his inventory. We'll come back for all of our stuff a little bit later, but first we need to take this ring and go confront Falcar. This definitely seems like a sick joke on his part, and hopefully we can use this as a chance to expose him. We exit the well and head back inside of the guild hall. We're confronted by Dizan first, so we speak with her.
I'm afraid some things have happened while you've been gone, associate. It may affect your recommendation. I'll admit it's my doing. I couldn't leave well enough alone, and after you'd left to go after that ring, well... I'm just so tired of the way we've all been treated by Falcar. I was worried about you and angry about Vidkun, so I confronted Falcar directly. He was furious when I told him I'd helped you, and then when I threatened to report him to the Council of Mages, I thought he was going to kill me. He flew into a rage. I didn't even understand some of his ranting, but he said that our days are numbered, and then he stormed out. I don't know if he ever wrote your recommendation. I'm sorry. I didn't expect this to happen. Perhaps you should go look and see if he did write one. You should check his room in the living quarters. If you see the note or anything else unusual, let me know. I'll gladly send it to the council. Oh, just drop it anywhere. I don't think he really cared about it. I think it was some sort of sick joke on his part. It's such a shame. He didn't deserve to die like that.
So it seems Falcar has already been confronted and has fled the guild in a fit of rage. It's now up to us to go down into his personal quarters and see if we can find anything he wrote about us. However, first we have to head back into that well and loot Vidkun's body of all our goods. Now that that's taken care of, we can descend into the lower levels. Considering he expected us to die in that well, I highly doubt he wrote a recommendation, but you never know what you might find. Looking into Falcar's personal belongings, we don't see any personal writings. However, we do see something of interest. 2 black soul gems. For many other players out there, this could have been your first time experiencing black soul gems, therefore delving into the world of necromancy. Once we finish searching all of the containers within the room, we receive a quest update. We're to go back to Deetsan and show her our findings. Ascending back to the upper levels, we find the Argonian and have a conversation with her.
What's this? Black soul gems? Oh dear, this is worse than I'd expected. All right, I'll just take these from you. I'll need them for my report to the council. Now, you didn't find any sort of recommendation? Very well. I shall write one myself and include it in my report to the council. In light of the circumstances, I believe they'll find it more than adequate.
And with turning over those black soul gems, we receive our second Mages Guild recommendation. This recommendation, similar to the last one, didn't really involve much effort on our part to venture outside of the hall or to demonstrate a certain skill set. However, even better than the last one, we did receive a little bit of backstory, lore, and foreshadowing into what we should expect out of the Mages Guild. Falcar has been attempting to kill associates, and he's been found with black soul gems in his possession. Now, nobody knows his location, and the Cheydinhal Guild Hall has a new leader. For our third recommendation today, we're going to be heading to the city of Leyawiin. The Leyawiin recommendation might be tied for the most effort and most work that we have to put into completing a task. We begin by fast traveling to the city and heading to the guild hall. There, we seek out an elderly Altmer named Degale. She had this to say.
You seek wisdom from me, child? Ah, no, you seek words. Words are difficult. They come and go. The voices, though, so loud they are, they drown out the words. Without my amulet, my stone to lock the voices away, the words will never come and stay. Would you lift your hands to help another? To help me find the words? Then seek Agata, child. She will see the path and set you on it. I must rest. She may be young, but her heart is old and wise. It guides her well through these troubled times.
A rather odd and cryptic first impression, however, we seek out Agata from the Mages Guild.
Yes? Is there something I can help you with, associate? I take it you've spoken to Degale. Then you know she is not well. She has visions, for lack of a better term. While they used to be helpful at times, they have lately become problematic. There was an amulet, a family heirloom that she wore to suppress and sometimes focus the visions. She's lost the amulet, and so has lost control. At times, they served her well. She gained something of a reputation in the guild and was highly valued by the council. As she aged, the visions became less coherent. Rather than cast her aside, the council gave her a position here. Some resent her and wish she'd disappear. I do not. I am proud to help her with her daily tasks. I'm surprised she discussed it with you. She wanted to keep it from the others. I should speak to her about that. Yes, her Seer's Stone is missing. It's the one thing that has kept her visions at bay, and without it, they're nearly crippling. She can't function. We haven't yet spoken to the others, for fear they would be less than accepting of her situation. Perhaps it is time, though. I will continue to tend to Degale. Can you speak with the other mages and find out if any of them have seen the stone? She's led such a troubled life. I just do what I can to make it easier on her.
Asking around the guild hall for the Seer Stone, we talk to Alvezuvenum and Sidrasa. They both can't tell us too much, however, there is a connection between what they do tell us.
I'm afraid I don't know anything about it. I heard it was missing, though. Kalthar was talking about it recently. He seemed very agitated about it, almost happy. Strange, isn't that?
All I heard was that it was important to Dagael, and it was missing. Kalthar didn't tell me anything more than that.
The knowledge that both of them have of the Seer Stone go back to Kalthar.
What? I've heard she was put in charge of the Leyawiin Guild Hall as a favor, not because she deserved it. That doesn't seem right, does it? I've heard she's the one you want to talk to if you actually need something to get done around here. I don't even know why Dagael is still around. Well, well, word is finally spreading, is it? They won't be able to keep up this facade much longer. Yeah, I know all about it. I overheard Agata and Dagael talking. And you know what? I'm glad it's gone. Why should we be forced to work under someone who's only kept sane by a magical trinket? Haven't we sacrificed enough already? She shouldn't even be here anymore. Hell, the only reason her father ever fit in anywhere is because he kept a low profile, and look what it got him. Years of service to the Empire, and not even a tombstone over his head. Humph! At least he was able to maintain the illusion of sanity. I know. I get way too fired up over this. It just annoys me that she's in charge of the guild when she's clearly not fit, that's all. What, haven't I said enough already? Just let it go. Once someone finally realizes what's going on here, maybe things will change.
It's clear that Kalthar is acting suspiciously. So with our conversation with him ending, we go and speak again with Agata to tell her our findings.
Yes? Is there something I can help you with, associate? So Kalthar overheard us, did he? That explains why he's been so cranky lately. But we never said anything about Dagael's father. How would he know anything about that? If there's some sort of connection between the Seer Stone and Dagael's father, I don't know about it. Maybe if you ask her, it will jog her memory. In the meantime, I'll keep an eye on Kalthar. There may be a connection to Dagael's father. Have you spoken to her about it?
The plot thickens with Kalthar knowing about Dagael's father's stone. So, we go and speak with Dagael to find out more information.
You seek more from me, child? It is as I have seen. I know what you would ask. You would bring light to that which is in darkness, bring silence to the voices so loud. I know where you must go. Blood ran blue and dragons flew high. Under broken towers and broken bodies it now lies, waiting to be found. What was my sire's must be mine if you would have the words you seek. You must go and find his stone.
With Dagael's memory jogged, we can now head to Fort Blueblood where we can grab her father's stone. Hopefully with this replacement stone, all of the voices inside of her head will be silenced, and we can receive our recommendation. Fort Blueblood is a short distance east of Leyawiin. During this quest, the fort itself is actually inhabited by marauders. So most of the marauders had steel, dwarven, or elven armor, as well as steel, dwarven, or elven weapons. This is actually the first recommendation where combat or sneaking around is involved. This is also the first recommendation which requires us to leave the city limits. We actually face a fair bit of marauders. Fort Blueblood itself is not very big, and for this quest there's actually only 2 zones that we need to go to. Towards the end of our adventure in the second zone, we'll actually come across a marauder warlord. They actually have quite a bit of health and deal some pretty good damage. However, if you play it patiently, block when you need to and attack when you need to, it's a pretty easy dispatch. Finally, after we kill all of the marauders, we enter through some doors that lead us down into a crypt. Here, we're faced with some already dead marauders, and we're quickly approached by 2 beast enemies. Normally, whenever I do this quest, it's usually 2 imps, but I guess due to our level today, it was actually 2 trolls that we had to face down. After defeating the trolls, we find Manduin's coffin, the resting place of Degale's father. Looking inside of the coffin, we find Manduin's amulet. Retrieving the amulet, we receive a quest update which tells us to return back to the Mages Guild. With the amulet in our inventory, we head for the exit. However, just before we're able to leave, we're stopped by a familiar face.
Look, just stop right there, all right? I can't let you leave with that amulet. I need it right now. I took the other one, and that should have been enough. I shouldn't have to go through all this just to get rid of her. It's not even as if I was going to keep it forever. I was going to give it back to her once I'd gotten what I wanted. That's not so wrong, is it? Once she helped me advance out of that place and step down, then she could have it back. Why did you have to get in the way? Why are you trying to ruin everything?
With Calthar's plan foiled, and seemingly no other option for him, he tries to attack us. He summons a ghost to his aid. I think it would be very easy to become overwhelmed by Calthar through his conjuration and his magic. However, so long as we just focused him and didn't really deal with his ghost, we were eventually able to best him. Now all we had to do was loot his body, retrieve the key that actually allows us to exit the fort, and then fast travel back to the Mages Guild. Once back in the hall, we sat out Degale to give her father's amulet.
Nothing has changed, child. The voices still cry out, and I am unable to hear. If they can be sealed away, our work may begin. Too many voices, too loud in my head. How can I hear when all are shouting? Found it, have you? Silenced the hands that betrayed and took what was mine? Then let me have the stones so that the voices can be shut out. Ah, child, I thank you for helping me. With the voices quieted for now, the words you seek have come to me. You shall have my recommendation. Though I must warn you, I've seen things in your future. Things which may be, and things which will be. It will be up to you to decide the fate of many. Life and death are strange things, easily manipulated, and both will be altered by your hands.
And with handing over Manduin's amulet, we've received our 3rd Mages Guild recommendation. I actually used to not really enjoy the Leyawiin questline. I felt as though the adventuring through Fort Blueblood was actually more tedious than fun. However, this time around, I actually really enjoyed it. I'm not sure what changed. Maybe I just have a higher appreciation of the extra effort and storylines that have gone into this game, or maybe I was looking for a little bit of adventure this time. I'm not too sure, but I actually really did enjoy it. So I actually really like the character of Degale. I think her visions and the voices in her head are a very interesting plot point. Not to mention she gives us that cryptic message towards the end of the quest saying that the life and death of many will be at our hands. That could obviously mean during our time in the Mages Guild or just throughout our entire experience playing the game. With her unique skill set, it would have been very interesting to have her come back up during the later quests of the Mages Guild. However, Degale's importance ends after this quest, leaving out what is in my opinion an opportunity to flesh out a very interesting character. For our 4th recommendation into the Arcane University, we're going to be heading to the Bravil Guild Hall. Once inside, we seek out the guild leader, Kude, and speak with her.
Hello there, associate. You're here for a recommendation, I presume. Are you prepared to earn it? I'm afraid I haven't had time to prepare anything conventional. I'm very preoccupied with this situation concerning Ardaline. Perhaps you can help with that, however. I can't directly get involved for fear of embarrassing the poor girl. I'll need you to have a little chat with Varen Vamori, and you can learn something about the power of illusion in the process. Don't say anything to her. I don't want to embarrass her further. Once this is all taken care of, I'll speak to her privately. I don't understand it. Some ridiculous male thing, I suppose. He's been bothering Ardaline every day for a while now. He even stole her mage's staff. Perhaps he thinks it's amusing. I don't know. But it needs to stop. It's making her miserable. Are you so eager to begin? Very well. We can start if you feel you are ready. I'm afraid I haven't had time. It's more symbolic than practical, but each carries great significance to its owner. You're going to get Ardaline's staff back. Take this charm scroll. With it, you should find Varon more receptive to questioning. Don't come back without that staff. You have what you need to help him talk. I admit, it's not standard guild procedure, but I'd do anything for one of my girls. If you want it, you'll need to persuade Varen Vamori using whatever means necessary to return that staff.
So I actually really didn't remember this recommendation quest. I remembered the previous 3 we did, but I didn't remember this one, so I found it to be pretty entertaining. Essentially, we're to go and confront an incel. Varen Vamori is actually a resident of this mages guild, so we seek him out within and speak to him. I didn't charm him well enough the first time, so I went in with the scroll that Kude gave us and charmed him again, and then spoke with him.
Hello, friend. What can I do for you? I don't know what to say. All I want is for her to care about me, to feel the same way as I do about her. But she doesn't. I try, and it just doesn't matter. It makes me furious sometimes. I've never laid a hand on her, either in anger or... I've never hurt her, okay? All right, I admit it. I took it from her. I don't know what I was thinking, honestly. I was trying to tell her how I feel, again, and she wouldn't even stop to talk to me. I just got so angry. I was a little ashamed afterwards, but I didn't know how to apologize or give it back. I wish I could. I'm afraid I don't have it anymore, you see. I sold it to a friend of mine, Saurus Aranon. If I still had it, I'd gladly give it back. You'll have to talk to Saurus Aranon if you want it. He lives in the Talos Plaza district of the Imperial City. He's the one who has Ardaline's staff now.
So for some reason, Varen thought it was a better idea to sell the stolen staff than to give it back, or rather probably the best option, to keep it until it's not awkward anymore. But he went ahead and sold it, so we're going to go back to the guild hall and tell Kude. But before that, briefly speaking with Ardaline, she has this to say about Varen.
What? I don't know anything about him. I'm sorry, excuse me.
I'm assuming that response was out of awkwardness, and probably from the fact that he just harasses her and steals her things. However, now it's time to go and speak with Kude.
Any luck talking with Varen Vamori yet? It should be no trouble at all once you use that scroll. He sold it, huh? Well, this just keeps getting worse. Very well. I presume he gave you some indication of where the staff is now located. Take these and go resolve the situation. And of course, please keep this just between us. No staff yet? Well, keep at it. Those charm scrolls should do most of the work for you, if you put them to good use.
So now it's time to go and pay a visit to Soris Aranim in the Talos Plaza district of the Imperial City. We found Soris as well as his wife and likely a friend in their home. Speaking plainly with Soris sounded like this.
Good day, stranger. Soris Aranim is my name. Yes, I have the staff Baron sold me. I'm afraid I'm not willing to part with it. I paid good money for it after all. You understand, of course.
So it's now we go into our inventory and use one of the scrolls that Kude gave us on Soris. He then had this to say.
What can I do for you? As much as I like you, friend, I'm just not willing to part with that staff. It's nothing personal.
At this point, I was pretty confused on what to do, and it actually took me a little bit to understand that we needed to cast one of the scrolls on his wife. Once Erisari was charmed enough, she blabbed about the staff's location.
That thing? Soris keeps it locked in a chest down in the basement. I don't see why he's so careful with it. It's not like anyone determined enough couldn't get their hands on it. The key is in his desk, after all.
So with that information, we break into their bedroom upstairs. Inside of Soris's desk, we find the key to the chest. This key also opens the door to the basement. While trying to open the door to the basement, we have to make sure we're in the right position so that way nobody can see us. We're directed over to a dresser, and when opened, we find Ardaline's staff. We're given a quest update, and now it's time to return back to the Bravil Guild Hall. Once back, we speak again with Kude in order to give her the staff.
Do you have the mage's staff, associate? Ah, wonderful. I shall be most pleased to return this to its rightful owner. Thank you. You needn't tell me the details of what was involved in getting it. It's perhaps better that I know nothing about it. Your actions for the guild more than merit a recommendation. I shall send it to the university promptly. And to thank you more personally, I shall teach you this spell. You may find it useful in certain circumstances.
And with that, we've received our 4th Mages Guild recommendation. Honestly, I found this questline to be a little lackluster. It didn't really offer much in terms of lore or story, and all we really had to do was cast some spells with some scrolls on some NPCs and break and enter into somebody's house, which, if that's what you enjoy, then this might be a really nice quest for you. But I don't think there's as much sustenance for this quest that I really wanted. Our 5th recommendation for today comes from the Skingrad Mages Guild Hall. This one I would say is tied at the top with the actual amount of work and effort that goes into receiving the recommendation. Entering inside of the hall and going to the top floor, we meet with the hall leader, Adrian.
I trust you have a good reason for interrupting me. I'm afraid I haven't given it much thought. I'm rather busy, you understand. My research occupies nearly all of my time. Now that I think about it, I do have a small problem concerning Earthor. He's one of the guild mages here. Think you can do something about it? Excellent. I just don't have the time to search for him again, but I do need to consult him about some notes he borrowed. You might want to ask around and see if anyone can be of some help. Let me know when he's back, and you'll have your recommendation. He's an interesting fellow. Salinis Vacinus can tell you more about him if you wish to know. Salinis should be around here somewhere. Talk to him if you'd like to know more about Earthor. Any luck finding Earthor yet? I'll need to speak with him before I can feel your recommendation has been earned.
So now we go ahead and ask Sulinus Vacinus if he knows anything about Earthor.
I hear you got quite a task from Adriana. A nice enough guy, I suppose, but there was that awful scamp incident last year. That's when Adriana told him he needed to practice somewhere else. Somewhere else. Meaning somewhere far away. So he settled down in Bleak Flats Cave, did all his work there, and came back to town twice a week to check in. Hasn't been around lately, though. Oh dear. I just can't seem to remember where that is. What a shame.
Sulinus doesn't know where Bleak Flat's cave is, and at this point I thought I had to bribe him or just charm him into telling me the location, but he just genuinely did not know where it was, so I went ahead and spoke with other guildmates in order to receive the location.
What do you want? I don't remember where it is, honestly. I know it's west of Skingrad. Druzha could probably tell you. She has a better memory than I do. He hasn't shown up here in a while. I assumed he was still out at Bleak Flat's cave, where he usually stays.
Speaking with Druzha, she's the one to actually show us where Bleak Flat's cave is.
Yes. It's just northwest of Skingrad. Here, see it on the map? That's where Ulterior wound up, after Adrian told him he couldn't practice in the guild hall anymore. She probably doesn't even remember that. You might want to make sure she remembers, especially the part about it being her idea. I haven't seen him in quite some time, but then, this isn't the first time he's been away, so I wasn't really that concerned.
With Bleak Flat's cave finally pointed out on our map, we're to go ahead and speak with Adrienne again and remind her that she's the one that sent Ulterior to the cave.
You're here about that recommendation, I presume. I'll need to speak with Ulterior before I write it. Oh, I do remember telling him to go there. Well, we'll just have to do something about that, won't we? By we, I mean you, of course. I have something that may help. It's a basic fireball spell, in case you need to defend yourself. I'll be here when you get back. Good luck.
Now it's time to head to Bleak Flat's cave and see what's happened to Ulterior. It's a short distance north of the city. Arriving at the cave and entering inside, you'll notice that we only have to stick to one zone. The only enemies I had to fight in here were headless zombies. There were a lot of them, but they were the only ones we did have to fight. Headless zombies are pretty tanky and they actually deal some pretty good damage. However, they don't have a very far reach, and their attacks are pretty predictable, so if you keep your distance, block, and attack at the most opportune moments, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. They also have a pretty massive weakness to fire, so if you have fire spells or fire damage, that would be the best thing to use. I never really made the connection, but if Ulterior's here practicing magic, and he's surrounded by headless zombies, does that mean he was practicing necromancy? There's a chance that maybe these headless zombies just showed up and invaded the cave, but it almost seems more likely that he had a hand in creating them. And if that's the case, did Adrienne know what Ulterior was up to when she sent him here to practice said magic? Kind of an interesting connection. I don't actually know if that's what the game is trying to insinuate or if it's just pure coincidence, but it is food for thought. Eventually, we defeat all the headless zombies and we find Ulterior.
They're all gone? I can leave the cave? Oh, thank you. I'm ever so grateful. You're heading back to Skingrad, aren't you? Could I maybe come with you? It'd be safer, I think. So, what do you say? Oh, thank you. You're just too kind. I'll be right behind you.
With Ulterior following us, we leave the cave and fast travel back to Skingrad. Once in Skingrad, we go back to the guild hall where Ulterior goes on his own to speak with Adrienne.
Adrian! I'm back! I was rescued!
So it would seem. You're unharmed, I presume?
Well, my pride is a little wounded.
Oh, spare me. You're lucky I bothered to send someone after you at all. In the future, would you please be more careful?
Well, yes. I'll just pack up my supplies and be on my way then. Thank you for sending someone to help me.
And with that, we speak with Adrienne.
What? I've spoken with Ulterior, who seems to be all right. Good work. I'll see to it that your recommendation is sent in as soon as I have a free moment. As I've said, I'm rather busy. I'll get to it eventually, though, I assure you.
And with that, we've received our 5th recommendation into the Arcane University. Honestly, besides that loose and not very fleshed out theory I had about Airthor and necromancy, I wasn't a massive fan of this questline. Again, it wasn't as interesting as the Gales back in Leyawiin, the characters weren't that interesting to me, and in my opinion, they should have done something way more interesting with Airthor. Either having him killed off, or maybe there was something to do with necromancy, just something to spice up the quest a little bit. The 6th and second last recommendation we're going to obtain today comes from the city of Anvil. I think this one has to be up there with one of my favorite recommendations just purely based off of what the task is. We begin by fast traveling to the city and heading to the Mages Guild Hall. There, we seek out the leader, Chorrol, and speak with her.
Hello, Associate. To earn a recommendation from me, you need simply prove you are able-bodied and prepared to learn something in the process. Unlike some frivolous tasks you may be given at other guild halls, this is a serious matter and has consequences. Are you prepared? Then allow me to explain the task. The Council of Mages has entrusted me with resolving a situation along the Gold Road. Several traveling merchants have been found dead along the Gold Road recently, with even more missing. The Council has asked that I put a stop to it. You are going to help me do so. We believe the killings are the actions of a rogue mage. Battle mages have been sent to the Brinacross Inn, the only common link between the victims. You are to travel north to the Brinacross Inn and speak with Ariel Gerard. She will give you further instructions. It's a sad thing to think that a mage would kill helpless merchants for the wares they carry. This is a harsh, dangerous task for you, I realize. Your unfamiliar face makes you most useful, however. And what better way to learn the many uses of restoration? Practical application is often the best educator, even in life and death situations. Some mages do not abide by the principles of the guild and operate outside its boundaries. Many hold little value for the lives of others. The frost burns found on the victims in this case indicate a mage was responsible for their deaths. Likely nothing more than simple robbery. These scrolls should provide sufficient resistance to frost magic when and if you do encounter this rogue mage. Use them wisely. The inn lies north of Anvil. Speak with Ariel Gerard when you arrive. She will give you further instructions. Do not let your guard down. We do not know whether the inn staff is involved somehow. The scrolls I have given you should protect you from the magic the mage seems to use most frequently. But do not let your guard down. He may have more tricks up his sleeve.
So, our next move is to fast travel to Brinacross Inn, which fortunately for us, I've apparently already discovered, so we make our way there. Arriving at the inn and heading inside, we seek out our companion, Ariel.
Hello, stranger. What can I do for you?
Chorrol has sent you, has she not? Go and speak with Christoph. Rent a room for the night. Once you have your room, I will meet you there. If anyone asks, you are a traveling merchant, nothing more. Do not say otherwise to anyone.
No, friend. I'm afraid I don't know the way to Cheydinhal, but good luck in your travels. Please excuse me.
We then turn around to speak with Christoph.
Welcome to the Brinacross Inn. Can I interest you in something to eat, or perhaps a bed for the night? Let me guess. Traveling on business? You don't look like you're out for a stroll. Ah, yes, thought so. We get many of them traveling through here. Well, we used to. Haven't seen as many lately, what with the, well, you know, the murders. I don't like to talk about it much, as it's bad for business. At any rate, would you care for a bed for the night? Right then, the bed is just upstairs at the back of the inn. Sleep well.
Just as we're about to go to our rented room, we're approached by a stranger.
Pardon me, did I hear you say that you're a traveling merchant? Don't you worry, what with the recent killings and all? I'd be ever so scared if it were me. I haven't left the inn in days, just in case. Well, you take care of yourself. I'd hate to hear about another senseless death. Good luck to you.
With all of the interactions out of the way, we can finally head up to our rented room. Resting for an hour, Ariel finally comes to visit us.
All right, it should be safe to speak here. Once you've rested here, you need to continue along the Gold Road, heading east towards Kvatch. I shall be following out of sight, along with a fellow battle mage. Make no attempts to speak to us. Trust that we will protect you. Should you be confronted by this cowardly mage, do not hesitate to protect yourself by whatever means possible. Once the mage has revealed himself, we will step in and settle a matter quickly. Now get yourself some sleep. You'll need to be well rested.
We finally received the mission details from Ariel. We're advised to sleep a little bit and rest, which we do, and then once it's time, we head to the Gold Road. Exiting the inn, we notice the two battle mages clad in their armor ready to defend us. We hop on our painted horse and start heading towards Kvatch. We only travel for a short distance when out of the brush, we see what is now a familiar face.
I'm afraid your journey ends here, traveler. I'll be taking whatever you're carrying. After you're dead, of course. I do hope it's more than the last few had. They were most disappointing.
So, it turns out the fearful and distraught Caminalda at the Brinacross Inn, who once told us that they were stuck there for days, is actually the one who's killing the travelers. A fight quickly breaks out, and it's time for us to defend ourselves. The two battle mages quickly run up and assist us with the fight. Caminalda summoned a flame Atronach to assist her, however, the three of us were definitely overpowering for the two of them. Very soon, she was slain.
You've done well. The Gold Road should be a little safer for now. You should return to Anvil and let Cheydinhal know the work is complete. We'll remain here and clean things up.
Looting Caminalda's body, we actually find a key to something, so I decided to head back to Brinacross Inn to see what that key would open. It opened the door to the room she was staying in, and there was also a chest in the corner. However, it was pretty lackluster, only containing 12 gold. Now it was time to fast travel back to Anvil, head to the Mages Guild Hall, and speak with Cheydinhal.
So, what of the rogue mage? Has he been found? A she, you say? And she's dead. Well, Ariel and Roliand did what needed to be done. No more innocent deaths. At least for now. You have done well enough for yourself. I'll pass along my recommendation to Raminus. Though I must say I doubt it will do you much good in the end. You'd be surprised how easily they forget about the little people.
And with that, we've received our 6th recommendation from the Mages Guild in order to get into the Arcane University. I couldn't tell you exactly why this is one of my favorite recommendation quests. Maybe because when I was younger and playing this game, I always had such a thrill going undercover and foiling the ruse of the rogue mage. And I remember when I first did this quest, I was so surprised to see that the rogue mage was Caminalda. But after all these years and finally doing this quest again, I feel like they actually make it pretty obvious that she's the one killing the merchants. Not only from the conversation she has with us after we talk with Kristoff, but also, including that, she mentions that she hasn't left the inn in days, and when we're done resting and it's time to go out and catch the rogue mage, she's nowhere to be found at Brinacross Inn. The 7th and final recommendation we need to receive to get into the Arcane University comes from Chorrol. We begin by fast traveling to the city and heading to the Mages Guild. There, we seek out its leader, Tychius.
What is it, associate? Do you need something?
I'm afraid I can't just write one out of hand. That would be against protocols, you see. If perhaps you can clear up a small matter involving Irana, you can prove your loyalty to the guild and earn my recommendation. She and I have an unpleasant history. She does not care for guild regulations and errantly believes I am misusing my powers. I have seen that she is in town. Though she has not approached me, I know she wants something. I would like you to find out what it is. Determine what she's after and how we may be rid of her. I do not want her here spreading her lies.
So, as per Tychius's request, we head to the Grey Mare in order to search for the estranged mage, Irana. Fortunately for us, she was just leaving the inn, so we catch her and have a conversation.
Ah, yes, you are a guild mage, are you not? Yet different from the others. Yes, this is good. There's a small matter with which you may be able to assist. It's nothing worth involving your guild in, I assure you. Best if kept just between us, yes? So, what say you? Excellent. It's a simple task, really. All you need to do is fetch a book for me. The book is entitled Fingers of the Mountain. It is of no use to you. You won't be able to read it. I, however, can, and would very much like to. You'll find it at an old ruin called Cloud Top. It's north of Chorrol, up in the mountains. I'm afraid I don't have an exact location. Return it to me immediately when you have it. Make no mention of it to Tychius or anyone else in your guild. I will make it well worth your effort.
Having heard of Irana's intentions of receiving a book called Fingers of the Mountain, we go ahead and return back to Tychius in order to tell him the information.
What can I do for you? What? Not only does it exist, but she knows where it is? Well, this is unacceptable. That book needs to be in the safekeeping of the guild. I trust that as a member of the guild, you would do the right thing and acquire this text before Irana does. Are we clear? Ignore her request. Go to this place she has described and return with the book. This is far more important than any petty squabble. Should you go looking for it, I hope that it would be for the sole purpose of bringing it here.
So it seems like this book, Fingers of the Mountain, might be more important than we actually think it is. Now it's time for us to head to Cloudtop, which is approximately northwest of Chorrol. We fast travel to Non-Will Cavern, a nearby location, get on our horse, and ride straight for Cloudtop. Arriving on the site, we see what appears to be a broken down structure with a column in the middle. Laying at the floor of the column is a burnt body. Looking into the inventory of the charred remains, we find the book Fingers of the Mountain. We're now faced with a choice. Do we bring the book to Irana or to Tychius? Admittedly, remembering a little bit about how the quest plays out, I decided to bring the book to Irana. I remembered that giving the book to Tychius ends the quest pretty early, so I wanted to see the other side of that.
But good.
Well, if it isn't my little helper, have you retrieved that book for me yet? Oh, wonderful. I'll just take this from you and get to work translating it. I'll need some time with this. Come and find me tomorrow. I'll be at the Grey Mare until I've finished my work. But please don't disturb me until I'm done. This is quite a delicate business, you see.
So with that, I decided to just force a 24-hour wait to see what she could come up with. Then, we headed to the Grey Mare and spoke with Irana again.
Hello, my little friend. I have something that might interest you. I've committed most of the book to memory, but I took the time to write down a passage you might find useful. It contains instructions for acquiring a very special power. You'll want to read it carefully and then return to Cloud Top. I consider this to be more than a worthy reward for your help. I believe you'll agree, assuming you're careful.
Handing us over the transcribed passage, it reads as follows. My dear helper, most of the text you've given me is well beyond your comprehension, I'm afraid. I found one section, however, that had been appended by the keepers of the Imperial Watch, and their notes will be of use to you. Return to the ruins of Cloudtop. There, you should find a section of pillar that looks remarkably unlike any other stonework present. The carvings on this pillar were made by the Aelids, and the pillar had been infused with significant power. The following was scribbled in the margins of the book, presumably by the same men who took the pillar from its original resting place. The notes are smeared in places, so I've included what I could decipher. Do note that this sounds rather dangerous, and take whatever precautions you feel are necessary. Only seems to function outdoors, where it reacts strongly to magic. Terrible power, capable of striking a man dead on the spot. Transported the stone to a secure location in order to study it more fully. Guild wizards brought in to focus power of stone. Several severely injured. Stone finally tuned to react to shock magic. Welkin stone necessary to harness stone's power. Success means powers of shock unattainable through other means. From these notes, and the original Aeliad inscriptions, it seems that our Imperial friends were attempting to harness some degree of the Aeliad's magical power, and were marginally successful. I suggest you procure a Welkin stone for yourself. Searching Aeliad ruins will likely be the quickest method of acquiring one, and return to Cloudtop to cast a shock spell at the pillar. What happens then, I think you can comprehend on your own. E. So with that information, we head to an Aeliad ruin. The quickest one I can think of was Vilverin, near the Imperial City. Once inside, it didn't take very long to find a Welkin stone. We had to fight a couple bandits, but it wasn't anything major. Once that was taken care of, we had to acquire some form of a shock spell, so I went to Edgar's discount spells in order to search for one. We purchased Shocking Touch for 99 gold, and then it was time to head back to Cloudtop. Casting Shocking Touch on the pillar with the Welkin stone in our inventory, we received a quest update. We were granted with the ability to cast a new spell called Finger of the Mountain, however we don't have enough magicka to use it, so we'll have to keep that in store for now. With all of the transpired events, it's time to return back to Tychius and tell him everything that's happened.
Go ahead, please. Is the book safe? Do you have it?
What? This is unacceptable. At no time did I ever suggest that you should actually follow through and give her the book. It cannot be left in her hands. You will retrieve the book immediately, if you have any intention of ever receiving a recommendation from me.
Evidently, Tychius was not very pleased with our actions, so it's up to us to return back to the Grey Mare and retrieve the book. Fortunately for us, retrieving Fingers of the Mountain was as simple as walking into her rented room and breaking into the very easy chest where she keeps it and stealing it. With the book back in our inventory, we head back to Tychius to present it to him.
Go ahead, please.
Have you recovered the book yet? Finally, I shall see to it that the book is kept safe until the council decides what should be done with it. I shall also overlook your transgression and send a recommendation to the Arcane University.
And with that, we've received all 7 recommendations needed to enter into the Arcane University. Fast traveling to the university, we lay eyes on the Archmage's Tower. Within this tower is where we're to meet Raminus Pulis. We enter inside and speak with the Imperial.
Hello, Associate. It seems you've obtained the final recommendation you required. I have received recommendations from all the local guild halls in Cyrodiil. You've done well for yourself. You may now enter the university. As a full-fledged member of the Mages Guild, I now also promote you to the rank of Apprentice and grant you the robe of the Apprentice. Take a moment and try it on. Then we shall speak of what comes next for you.
I quickly wanted to inspect the robe to see if it was worth equipping. Unfortunately, for my build, it wasn't. So, we resumed the conversation with Raminus.
We come to the real work at last. You have, no doubt, seen some of the worst the guild has to offer. As much as we try to hold mages to a higher standard, they are only human. What I hope you will now see is that while the guild can be disjointed and misused, it can also achieve some wonderful things. Now you have an opportunity to engage in more meaningful tasks and continue with your advancement through the guild. You do not yet qualify for further advancement in the guild. Before you can begin work for the guild, you'll need to do something for yourself. Every mage carries a staff. It is crafted and enchanted by the guild and is a symbol of status. You need such a staff. The wood used for staves comes from a grove to the northeast of the Imperial City, near Wellspring Cave. Several mages tend to the grove and should be able to assist you. Speak with either Zarasha or Illet when you arrive, and choose wisely. Wellspring Cave lies to the northeast of the Imperial City. The mages there can assist you. You have your task. Acquire wood for a staff from the grove outside Wellspring Cave.
We're tasked with heading to Wellspring Cave to craft our staff. We're to meet some Mages Guild contacts from within. I decided it best to exit the university and leave the city limits in order to get to the location with the most efficiency. Pretty soon, we arrived at Wellspring Cave and entered inside. With a little bit of venturing, we noticed that things aren't right here. Immediately, we see the body of a dead Khajiit woman on the floor. Standing next to her is a mage in tattered robes with a red skull and bones embroidered into it. We're aggroed and she conjures a spirit to help her. This is our first official fight with a Necromancer in the Mages Guild. It's best to ignore their conjuration and shoot straight for the mage. A few swings with Sinweaver and she went down for the count. Investigating the body, we received a quest update that the dead Khajiit is one of our contacts, Zarasha. From here, our mission changes to finding out what is exactly going on in this cave. Entering the next zone, we come face to face with two more Necromancers. With a charged Sinweaver, they're easy to defeat. However, two more enemies quickly becomes four, and it's really easy to get overwhelmed. Given my character's melee build, the ranged magic attacks are certainly a good counter. Soon enough though, both Necromancers fell. From here, there are two pathways to take. One of them is simply an underwater passageway to help you get back on land if you fall off the bridge. The other passageway leads to a third Necromancer. Once defeated, a doorway leading outside to the waterfront can be accessed using a key we picked up from Zarasha's body. Once outside, we're in a secluded area where multiple hooded figures approach us.
What have we here? Another plaything? You'll dance for me, little one. Yes, you will. I will make your corpse dance and then tear itself apart.
Another battle breaks out. From the corner of our eyes, we see another dead body, this time of an elderly Redguard woman. However, there's no time to investigate. 3 enemies quickly become 6. In this moment, the best strategy for our character is to stand our ground, tank the hits, and unleash as many heavy attacks as possible. It's also a good idea to focus on one Necromancer at a time, as when they're defeated, their conjuration leaves with them. 2 of the Necromancers quickly fell, and then we're left battling with one more. She heals a few times, but ultimately succumbs to our blade. We get a quest update saying we should grab the wood for the staff and then return to Raminus. Before doing so, we investigate the dead Redguard woman to reveal that it is indeed Illet. Both of our Mages Guild contacts were murdered in cold blood. We walk over to the stone chest and look inside. There, we find an unfinished staff. We can now fast travel back to the Arcane University and speak with Raminus.
Apprentice. What? Necromancers at the cave? Illetta and Zarasha dead. I can't believe it. They've never been so bold before now. Always hiding in the shadows, staying away from the guild. What could have prompted this? I'll need to speak to the council about this. Thank you for relaying the information. Now tend to your staff and your wounds if necessary. Delmar at the Chironasium can help you with the staff. See him right away. Now that you have the wood, speak with Delmar at the Chironasium.
The Chironasium is on the gated side of the university grounds, which we can now access. Walking into the building, we seek out the elderly Redguard named Delmar.
Welcome to the Chironasium. Can I help you? Ah, yes. This is a big step for you, friend, whether you know it or not. Now you'll need to decide what sort of staff you're looking for. Something that fits you and your abilities. Shall we begin? Enchanting staves can be a tricky business. Only certain spells will be truly useful to you, so I'll narrow it down some. Let's start with the school. Which appeals most to you? Destruction, illusion, or mysticism? Very well. You have 3 choices for what type of damage you'd like it to do. Fire, frost, or shock. Your staff will let you wield the power of lightning. If you want something else instead, we can start over. Right. I'll get to work. You come see me tomorrow, and I'll have your staff ready.
We wait for 24 hours in the Chironasium. I figured that since a lot of my weapons do fire damage already, I would pick one of the other 2 options. Quickly weighing out both, I thought shock damage would better suit my needs for this playthrough. Once the wait is over, we speak again with Delmar.
Welcome to the Chironasium. Can I help you? Yes, it's all finished. It's in that cupboard back in the corner. I hope it serves you well.
We go into the cabinet and retrieve our mage's staff, thus ending the quest, a mage's staff. We can now return back to Raminus Polis in the Archmage's lobby and ask him for a new task.
I have a new task for you. In accordance with guild rules, you now qualify for the rank of journeyman. May you wear your rank well. The Council is investigating what happened at Wellspring Cave. Many of our resources are devoted to the task, leaving our ranks spread thin. There is a related book that needs to be recovered. It was recently loaned to Janice Hasseldor, the Count of Skingrad. I'd like you to retrieve it. I understand this may not seem the most important of tasks, but still, it needs doing, and you are one of the few available to do it. A note of caution. Skingrad is an unusual place. Be prepared for the unexpected. The Count is a reclusive man and sometimes difficult to see. Hopefully, your status as a representative of the guild will aid you. Speak with the castle steward when you arrive. The city lies southwest of the Imperial City. The castle overlooks the city from a steep hill. You should have no trouble finding it.
Our next quest lies within the city of Skingrad and retrieving some sort of book from its count. Exiting the lobby, we quickly head back to the Chironasium to charge our enchanted weapons. Once completed, we fast travel to the major city at once. We're able to go immediately inside of the castle. There, we speak with the Count's steward, Mercator Hosidus.
Yes, the Mages Guild, you say? Oh, the Count is quite aware of your presence here. He simply has no interest in granting you an audience at this time. Now that I've seen you myself, I can't say that I blame him. Nevertheless, I shall endeavor to change his mind on the subject. Return tomorrow. Perhaps he will see you then.
Not the nicest of stewards, but we give him the 24 hours like he asks us, and then we return to hear what he has to say.
You there. I have an update for you. The Count has agreed to see you, but not here. He wishes to meet you north of the cursed mine outside of town, after 2 a.m. It would be wise of you to be on time. Follow the road west out of Skingrad, through the high pasture. The mine entrance is south of the road. The Count will meet you just outside it.
Mercator tells us to meet the Count in a really strange place at an even more strange time. However, we are to retrieve that book from him, so we'll do what we must. We fast travel to the stables and walk along the road until we get to our meeting spot. Once situated, we wait a few hours until the prescribed time. 2 a.m. hits and there's no sign of the Count. However, we're soon approached by some shady, hooded figures and a familiar face.
Ask a commoner. I don't...
Just in time, mage. We've been waiting for you. I'm afraid I misled you. The Count won't be arriving. In fact, he doesn't even know you're here. We're not about to let the Guild interfere with our plans, for the Count or otherwise. So, you'll have to die. Don't worry. We'll put your body to good use, I assure you.
Spirits and the undead are quickly conjured, and we're way outnumbered. We hold our ground, tank the hits, and swing away with our enchanted elven claymore. Suddenly, out of nowhere, a man runs into the field where we've been ambushed. He joins the fight and aids us, killing Mercator first. Soon, one of the necromancers falls, and then together, we strike down the second one. The battle has concluded, and this mysterious figure comes to talk to us.
You impossible fool. What possessed you to think I would suggest a meeting here, of all places? At least your gullibility served some useful purpose. I knew about Mercator, but not his friends. Now none of them are a threat any longer. Do you not recognize a necromancer when you see one? I suspected Mercator was involved in their cult, but was unwilling to move against him without knowing the identities of his allies. Count Janus Hasseldor at your service. A thank you might be in order at this point. Despite what your council may think, I've not thrown in with the necromancers and would never do so. You may pass along that message. Is that so? Perhaps your council has not been entirely honest with you. Do you really believe they sent you here for a book? No, they sent you here to spy on me. They've heard the same rumors I have about the Necromancer's cult. Tell your council that the next time they want something from me, they come themselves. They don't send someone under false pretenses. Yes, I see that now. I regret that Traven has involved you in this way. At least you've survived. For now. Perhaps in the future you can be trusted enough to deal with more serious matters. Now our business here is concluded. I suggest you return to your council.
There was no book to be retrieved after all. We were simply there to keep an eye on the Count to see where his allegiance lied. In the process, we uncovered a conspiracy in the courtroom, outed and killed some necromancers. It's time to return back to Raminus Polis and tell him what has transpired.
Have you been to Skingrad and seen Count Hasseldor? Saved you, did he? Well, that's a good sign. I must apologize. It was never the Council's intention to put you in harm's way. The Count's unique nature is not public knowledge. The Council wishes to keep it that way. At the time, it was believed that there was no reason to inform you, since it was not crucial to the task you were given. For that reason, I was unable to disclose more about his true identity to you. Clearly, that judgment was in error. I apologize. Archmage Traven feared that sending a high-ranking official with the Guild might draw too much attention and provoke a reaction from the Count. We were also concerned that it might drive any necromancers in the area underground, making them more difficult to root out. We simply wanted to survey the situation in Skingrad. Our relationship with Hassildor is tenuous at best. The Council has agreed to keep his nature a secret, and in exchange, he occasionally provides us with useful information. As a vampire, the Count has few allies he can trust. He has disguised his nature from most, but cannot hide it from the Council of Mages, so he approached us with an accord. As you have seen, that agreement is under a great deal of strain lately. The Count does not agree with certain policies the Guild has established. It's not quite that simple. Hassildor is powerful, to be sure, but the Council does not consider him to be a threat. After all, he has ruled over Skingrad for quite some time, without incident. We feared Hassildor may have been involved with the Necromancers. Thanks to your involvement, it would seem that he is not. At least, not for the moment. We will continue to monitor the situation, but I assure you, we will make no further attempts to mislead you. You have done your job admirably, and I thank you for it.
Raminus now knows that Janus Hassildor has not taken up allegiance with the Necromancers, and now we have been informed of Hassildor's true identity, thus ending the quest, Ulterior Motives. It's yet again time to return to Raminus for an advancement and more tasks.
I have a new task for you, and I assure you there are no necromancers involved. Your services to the Guild have not gone unnoticed. As of this moment, you have gained the rank of Evoker. Along with your new rank, please take this amulet. May it help keep you safe in times of danger. Are you ready for it? If not, I understand you've been through quite a bit lately. Very well. There's a research project going on at one of the Ayleid ruin sites on the eastern side of the province. Chorrol is in charge of the project and is apparently in need of some help. I thought you might need a break after the things you've been exposed to lately. You can find Erlov in the Archmage's Tower. He's a good man, but council matters have distracted him lately and he's been neglecting his other work. Speak with Chorrol. He can give you the details you need.
We take the Mages Guild portal and are teleported to a new area. Here, we find Erlov and speak with him.
You're about Vodin, are you? It's a damn shame. I haven't been giving the project the attention it deserves. The last report I received from Skingrad indicated there was some sort of problem, a blocked passage or something that they couldn't get past. I'd investigate it further, but I'm needed here with the council. Raminus says you've got a good head on your shoulders. Look into it for me, will you? You can find Skingrad at the site. Access is restricted, so you'll need this key. She's the mage heading up the on-site research. She can tell you more about whatever it is that's impeding their progress. It's an Ayleid ruin southwest of Cheydinhal. We suspect that there are some interesting things inside, so a research project was established. Skingrad is there now, working on investigating the ruins.
We're now off to the Ayleid ruin called Vodin to meet with our contact inside, Skingrad. Lucky for us, Vodin is located right beside Swampy Cave, a quest location we discovered for the Fighters Guild. A quick fast travel over there, and we soon arrived at our point of interest in no time. Interesting to note is that Vodin appears as a simple cave from the outside, which is in contrast to the beautiful, aged, and sprawling stonework that we usually find at the entrances of Ayleid ruins. Once inside, we make our way through a cave system that leads us all the way to the innards of an alien ruin. Either the guild or miners must have broken through the walls and stumbled across the long-forgotten crypt. We see an Argonian holding a torch. Approaching her, we engage in conversation.
This is a restricted area, I'm afraid. You have business here? Don't tell me Chorrol sent you. Erlov sent you, did he? Figures. He can't be bothered to come check on his own project, so he sends someone who knows nothing about it. And this is supposed to help? No offense to you, friend. It's not your fault. And perhaps you can help. If you can figure out how to use the pillar, I'd be thrilled. You're welcome to try your hand at it. That's what we're calling it, only because we don't know what it really is, or was. It's magical, we know that much. Enchanted somehow. We think it's a lock of some sort, but haven't been able to figure out how it works. All I can say for sure is that it reacts to magic, badly most of the time. Several mages were hurt attempting to cast spells at it. It's at the bottom of the ruins, if you wish to try your luck. Be careful, though. It could be quite hazardous to your health. Best to play it safe. No complex magic. Stick to basic spells with single effects. It's not worth taking unnecessary risks. It's connected to the rest of the chamber. We know that much. We just don't know how it works. I've given up trying to figure it out. It's just beyond us. Why Cheydinhal stays down there, I have no idea. He's just asking to get killed. This place has been nothing but trouble as far as I'm concerned. Since we disposed of the creatures that had taken up residence here, it's been nothing but a fight to figure out how the place works. The pillar has had us stumped for more than a week now, not to mention the injuries it's caused.
We head to a set of doors and use our key given to us by Erlov to open it. Once we walk a short distance, we find our Imperial contact, Cheydinhal.
Sent you in to try your hand at the thing, have they? I don't know how much Skalil told you. We know that it reacts to magic, but every time we've tried, the thing shocks whomever cast the spell. It hasn't been fatal for anyone yet, but we stopped trying after the first few attempts. I can tell you, it really hurts. The only thing we haven't figured out is the markings. You see them on the walls? They must relate to the pillar, but I don't know how. If we had some sort of reference, something to compare them to, we might be able to decipher them, but we lack anything like that. Skalil might have a book that would be useful, but she's been skulking over the way Erlov's been treating her. Perhaps you could ask her for it. I don't know what else to say. Until we have some sort of reference for understanding these symbols, we'll never figure this thing out. I don't know. Anything that might help explain these inscriptions in the ruins. They're like nothing we've seen to date.
We ascend back to the entrance and speak again with Skalil to get the Iliad reference book.
What if there's anything about Vodin you need explained, let me know. I'll help if I can. I don't know why Cheydinhal is even trying. This is doomed to fail. But fine. If he wants it, he can have it. It's just one more thing I'll get blamed for in the end.
Looking at the book, it doesn't really make much sense. There are Iliad passages which are translated into the common tongue, yet the translations don't reveal anything obvious or straightforward. However, by going back to Cheydinhal and giving him this book, this conversation ensues.
Yes? You got the book, eh? Good for you. I've given up trying to deal with her for now. I'll tell you what. I'll take the book, and then if you can read me the inscriptions, I'll see if I can find the translations for them. Now that I have the book, I can try and translate what's on the walls here. You just read the inscriptions. Let me know what they say.
We can now go into the room with the pillar and look around. Each of the 4 corners contains a tablet with inscriptions. By reading the inscriptions, we can return to Cheydinhal and he'll give us the following instructions.
Okay, what do you need translated? According to this, it translates to from fire, life. Fire it is then. Anything else? Mafre seems to translate to frost, so a spell with frost damage should work for it. Anything else? It means magicka shines. And taken in context with the other inscription about magicka darkening, perhaps there's an alternate translation. If we assume it means magicka waxes, then a spell increasing magicka might be what we need. Something that fortifies it, perhaps. It means magicka darkens. Considering the other inscription, it could be translated to mean magicka wanes, along with magicka waxes. Perhaps a spell that damages magicka is what you're looking for. Okay.
By facing the pillar and casting a fire spell, frost spell, drain magicka spell, and fortify magicka spell in that order, the pillar will open up to reveal a passageway with a door. Speaking with both Cheydinhal and Skingrad will invoke these reactions.
Well, would you look at that? Someone will need to see where this goes. I think you should go. You've done all the hard work, after all. If there are any discoveries to be made, you should be the one to make them. You deserve that much.
Have you found anything interesting in the ruins? You made it work. That's fantastic. Not only can I tell Urlav we're back on track, but I can happily say we did it without his help. There must be something down there worth locking up. Would you mind taking a look as long as you're here? If I can send you back with something worthwhile, Urlav may forget all about our delays.
It's now time to descend into the passageway and venture forth. We're immediately met by a ghost. However, with a fully charged Sinweaver, it was really no issue. I decided to try out my Mages Guild staff, mainly to save the charge on Sinweaver. However, this staff ended up being incredible for dispatching the ghosts. We were able to two-shot all of them, and even better, from a distance. This zone had plenty of floor traps laid out, and if we weren't careful, we would have been crushed to death. We even encountered some swinging blade traps, but those are relatively easy to get around. We finally ended up in one big open area. In the middle was an elevated platform that contained a chest of sorts. In order to make it up there, we had to press a button located on the other side of the room in a separately elevated area. Once the button was pressed, we were able to ascend the stairs. However, once up there, 3 more spirits spawned in and began attacking us. The shock damage from our staff was certainly good enough to defeat all 3 ghosts, however, these ones required more than 2 hits to beat. Once dispatched, we made our way back up the stairs and pressed another button. This one opened up the chest-like contraption located on the pedestal, and an alien relic was revealed. It looked like a regular elven helmet, however, it was titled Ancient Elven Helm. We picked it up and received a quest update to return back to Cheydinhal. A secret passageway opened up, we fought and defeated a skeleton hero which was guarding it, and then we were able to take the path all the way back to the beginning area. Speaking with Cheydinhal went like this.
What's that you have there? That looks important, whatever it is. I think you've really found something. You'd best get that to Urlav back at the Imperial City as soon as possible. He'll want the mages there to examine it more closely.
We were now tasked with delivering the helm back to Urlav. We exited Vodin and fast-traveled back to the university. There, we spoke with Urlav and handed over the helmet.
What's this? Some sort of alien artifact? Well, well, Romanus was right in sending you out there. Good work. I'll be sure and put in a good word for you. Good work getting that straightened out. I'm glad someone finally came along that was able to make progress with it.
Thus ending the quest, Vodin's secret. We find Raminus in the Archmage's lobby of the Arcane University and begin to speak to him.
Good work at Vatican. Chorrol is quite pleased with the information now coming in about the site. There is another predicament, which I believe you can also help resolve, if you feel ready for it. Excellent. You have become most reliable, and I assure you that the Council appreciates it. Now, to the matter at hand. In order to deal with the apparent growing problem of necromancers in Cyrodiil, the Council needs as much information as possible. The Mystic Archives have been consulted with minimal success. Guild members are investigating other avenues, but I believe more can be learned here. What little we know makes no sense in a larger context. For example, why was Falcar, who we know now to be part of this cult of necromancers, in possession of black soul gems? The Archmage has other reports of these gems being associated with necromancers, but we do not know why. We don't even know what they do. We have overlooked these questions because we are so focused on rooting out the necromancers as quickly as possible. I'd like you to speak with Tarmina at the Mystic Archives. She is our specialist on Magica Arcana and has been helping gather information. I believe we have been asking her the wrong questions, taxing her too much with vague attempts to make sense of all that we know. Speak with her specifically about these black soul gems, if she knows anything about their powers or creation. An insight into their origins may lead us to those who are responsible for them. You become more valuable to the Guild with each passing day. The Guild wishes to reward that, and so you are raised to the rank of Conjurer. Accept these robes and wear them with pride. Her expertise in arcane knowledge and lore could be invaluable to us if we can make proper use of it. She can likely be found in the archives now, poring through materials on necromancy. She stops only to sleep at the Archmage's request.
We leave the Archmage's lobby and go into the courtyard of the Arcane University. Tarmina can be found inside of the Mystic Archives, which is a building located on the grounds. Going inside and speaking with her sounds like this.
Conjurer. Look, if you're here for information, I'm afraid you'll have to find it on your own. I'm swamped right now, up to my ears in necromancy. Not practicing it, mind you. Wouldn't want anyone to think I was involved in that sort of thing. I simply meant researching it. Why? Why? Oh, no real reason. It's just that the entire Council of Mages has been in here at one time or another recently, all wanting information on necromancers. Necromancy, of all things. Oh, of course you were. No doubt the Council is trying to get you to bother me further. I ran Karanya out of here just a short while ago and told them to leave me alone. I keep telling them I can't produce results if I'm not given any time. I'm not used to working under conditions like this. Now that is a bit more specific. Finally, something I can respond to. Let me think for a moment. Ah, yes, there's one obscure text that references these gems. I believe it's still around here someplace, unless Falcar never returned it. The name of the book is Necromancer's Moon. I'm unclear on the origins of the text, but it does involve these gems you're interested in. I'm afraid you'll have to find it yourself. I'm so out of sorts with all these requests, I've lost track of most everything. It's very distressing. Why all the fuss now? I thought it would have died down by now, what with the ban on the practice of necromancy and the guild being in place for as long as it has. And yet suddenly everyone shows up on my doorstep, needing information immediately. Never mind that I might have things on my own to work on. I believe you'll find it quite helpful. Once you've had a chance to read it, I'd be happy to discuss it with you.
We walk around the desk and see the book sitting on a side table. The book reads, Brothers and Sisters of the Worm, despair not at the trials we now face, for our time comes swiftly. The God of Worms watches over our order and will deliver us from these troubled times on the day of reckoning. Until then, perform his works in secret, serve his needs, and look to the skies for his signs. The Revenant, the Necromancer's moon, watches over us all. His form ascended to godhood, has taken its rightful place in the sky, and hides the enemy Arcane from us so that we may serve him. Watch for the signs. When the heavenly light descends from above, hasten to his altars and make your offering, so that he may bless you with but a taste of his true power. Grand soul gems offered to him will be darkened and can be used to trap the souls of the unwitting, a feat even the Nagasta would marvel at. Stay faithful to the Order of the Black Worm, and in time, your loyalty will be rewarded. Soon, he will return to set the world right in due time, and those who would stand in his way will suffer eternally at his hands, just as those who stood opposed before. Until that day, you must believe and be patient. Hide in your caves, in your ruined forts, in your secret lairs, raise your minions, summon your revenants, cast your spells, answer the call of the Order when you are needed, watch and listen. After reading it, we receive a quest update and tell Tarmina what we read.
Tarmina, this is my mystic archives. Keep it neat, keep it quiet. No eating in the stacks. A most interesting text, is it not? We are fortunate that at least one necromancer took the time to record the information. I am unfamiliar with the shade of the Revenant described within the book, but I was never one to dabble in the more, shall we say, amoral arts. You may take that with you for now, if you wish. The Council may have use for it. Please ask them to return it quickly, as I may need it again.
Now, we can go back to Raminis in the Archmage's lobby and tell him about the Necromancer's moon.
Has Tarmina been of use in gathering information about the Necromancers? Excellent work. I believe this will be of use to the Council. I shall make sure they're made aware of its contents. I've never heard of this shade of the Revenant. Some sort of celestial phenomenon? If that's correct, then Bothiel would most likely know something about it, as the caretaker of the orrery. She should be on university grounds. A most fascinating contraption. Bothiel is one of the few who understands how it worked and kept it running.
Bothiel is conveniently sitting behind us the whole time. Speaking with her sounds like this.
Hello there. Is there something I can do for you? I've heard things, to be sure, but I don't really know anything about them. Is it true that some of our guildmates were killed? Oh, how horrible! Revenant, you say? And it represents something in the heavens? It sounds familiar. Let me think. Ah, yes, now I remember. Falcar was here some time ago asking about just such a thing. Said it was for research. He had a large sheaf of notes with him about it. I'm afraid I didn't have any more advice for him than I do for you. With the Ori in such a state of disrepair, I have no point of reference. Falcar did leave this behind. I think it fell from his notes as he left. I didn't pay it much attention, but perhaps it will be of use to you.
Bothiel gives us a note that apparently our old friend, Falcar, dropped during his escape. The note reads, Primary sites, the Dark Fissure, Fort Istrius, Fort Lynchall, Wendelbeck. Altars have been raised, anchorites have been called. Watch the skies. Once a week his grace shines down on us. Returning to Raminis and speaking with him sounds like this.
Good day. So, Falcar expressed interest in this revenant as well, and left this note behind, did he? Perhaps we should look into it for more clues. This lists several locations. The first is the Dark Fissure, which I recognize. It's a cave in the mountains, south of Cheydinhal. If there is indeed an altar there, as the note suggests, I believe this cave is directly related to the contents of the book. Go to the Dark Fissure the next time this shade occurs. Search for any connection to what we've learned and report back. Please, be careful. Anything you find is of no use to us if you do not survive. I believe we are dealing with powerful forces here. Do not put yourself in harm's way if it can be avoided.
Now it's time to follow his directions and head to the Dark Fissure. What's neat is we can actually head to any of the 4 locations listed in Falcar's note and find what we need. Dark Fissure is located southeast of Swampy Cave, a location we needed for the Fighters Guild, so we set travel for there. A quick horse ride up a hill and we find ourselves at the foot of the cave. Right away, we notice a massive altar dressed in Necromancer's banners right outside of the cave's entrance. Surrounding the door are zombified bodies and skulls. We have a few options here. Number 1 is go inside of the cave and come face to face with the Necromancer anchorite, which we do.
You will not stop us. The Order of the Black Worm will consume all in its path.
Looting their body, we find a handwritten note. It reads, "To the anchorites, place your grand soul gems in the altar. Pray for his blessing and strike the altar with your soul trap magic. Your gems will become instruments of his divine power." We then get a quest update that we should return to Raminus to report what we've learned. So, there are other ways of finding out this information as well. Perhaps the neatest and most interesting actually involves witnessing the ritual for ourselves. Looking at the Days Past menu, every 8 days, starting from the 1st to the 9th to the 17th to the 25th to the 23rd, so on and so forth, we will witness necromancers making black soul gems at the altar from midnight to midnight. Otherwise, the other way is to place an empty grand soul gem in the altar and cast a soul trap spell on it. Any of these ways work and gets you the same information on black soul gems. We then fast travel back to the Arcane University and speak with Raminus.
Oh, Conjure, have you been to the Dark Fissure yet? We need to know all we can about the Necromancers. So you saw them. The altars must be infused with some kind of power to change over the soul gems. I shall pass the news on to the Council. Most troubling indeed to know that these are not merely myths. I also fear their numbers may be greater than we believed. You have again performed admirably. You have my thanks, and that of the Council as well.
With that, we've finally found out the mystery behind how black soul gems are made. However, the details for what they're used for are still a little elusive, thus ending the quest, Necromancer's Moon. We can begin our next task by returning back to Raminus and speaking with him.
You continue to do the guild proud. As such, a new task awaits you. This time, however, it comes from Archmage Traven himself. You should go see him. You are Conjurer no more. Guild members shall now address you as Magician. Congratulations.
It's at this point we're officially done taking our orders from Raminus, and we receive our orders from Archmage Hannibal Traven.
Greetings. It is high time that we met face to face, don't you think? Raminus has told me good things about you. You have advanced quickly and show great promise. I now intend to put your talents to a more direct test. I have a difficult task that you can, perhaps, assist with. Are you prepared to begin? Very good. Let me explain what is at stake. The Council of Mages has been aware of the increased necromancer activity in Cyrodiil for some time. It had been our position to sit back and watch what unfolded, but that time has clearly passed. We cannot tolerate these attacks on the Guild. Most of our information on the Necromancers has come from an informant inside the cult itself, a Guild member who offered to infiltrate their ranks. Yes, and we have for quite some time. Though the information he has provided is limited, it has given us a sense of their scope and power. The Council was initially reluctant to believe the information was reliable, but with recent events they have little choice but to trust it. I fear that our informant is in danger, and that is why I have called you here. Mucianus Elias. He is not a council member, but has long served the Guild here at the Arcane University. Aware of the growing interest in the Guild after the ban on necromancy was put into place, he offered to help the Council track the cult's actions. With my blessing, he infiltrated the group, and has fed us information for quite some time, until recently. I have not heard from him, and I fear for his safety. The lack of reports from Mucianus has disturbed the Council, and they are now concerned about the legitimacy of his information. A group of battle mages were dispatched to Mucianus's last known location with the intent of bringing him in for questioning. I argued against it, but eventually agreed to maintain order in the Council. I regret that decision, and that is why I wish to send you there. I fear the battle mages may mistreat Mucianus if they do not mistake him for one of the many necromancers no doubt present in the ruins. I wish for you to find Mucianus and ensure his safe return to the Arcane University. I do not want anything to go wrong. Please, hurry. The battle mages will arrive there soon, if they have not already, and time is of the essence. If for any reason they are unsuccessful, Mucianus's life will be in forfeit. You must make sure he is safe. Go now, and bring word to me as soon as he has been escorted to safety. Mucianus last reported being sent to the ruins of Nenyon Twill, south of the Imperial City. That is where the battle mages went. South of the White Rose River, nearly halfway to the border of elsewhere. I'm afraid I know nothing more about the location, or what you may expect to find once you arrive. Thank you. Know that I would not ask such a thing of you if I did not feel it was urgent, or that it was beyond your capabilities. I shall await your return.
We've received our first task from the Archmage. We're to go to Nenyon Twill and look for our informant on the Necromancers, Mucianus. The closest location we discovered to Nenyon Twill is Robber's Glen Cave. From there, we can hop on our paint horse and make haste for the Ayleid ruin. Nenyon Twill certainly has a less grand outside than most of the other Ayleid ruins. Entering inside, we're quickly approached by a stranger.
You! What are you doing here? Has the Council gone mad, sending you here alone? There's no time. The others, they were waiting for us. They knew we were coming. I'm the only one left. The Necromancers retreated further in, but we've got to follow them. There's no time to waste. Follow me.
While it seems like Fifth and us are going to fight together through this infested ruin, he quickly charges headfirst into a trap and gets impaled by a crushing trap. To be honest, I don't think there's any way to avoid this occurrence, as I'm pretty sure it's scripted. Nenyon Twill is littered with necromancers and the undead. There are 2 zones in total. The first one contains 4 necromancers and 2 undead. The quest marker was actually telling us to go through a hidden door that we didn't have access to yet, so we ignored it and went through the correct one. The second zone, called Nenyon Twill Riacel, sees us having a conversation with someone named Mariette Riel.
Oh, you poor dear. I'm afraid you're late to the party. The guest of honor has already left. And I do hate to disappoint you, but Mucianus is in no condition to be leaving. He's a worm thrall now, and shall be quite content here. A grim fate indeed, but one does not cross the order of the Black Worm without suffering greatly for it. I shall tell the master that you were here looking for him. Perhaps I'll bring him your head as an offering.
A battle then breaks out between us and Mariette. She mentioned that there was a guest of honor here, and she also mentioned something called the Order of the Black Worm, which is very peculiar. Once Mariette is defeated, we can once again move forward. The remaining enemies in this zone are 3 necromancers and 3 undead. The undead we ended up facing were skeleton heroes and guardians. I actually had a tougher time defeating the skeletons than I did the necromancers. The heroes were relatively tanky, but thankfully they were just archers and couldn't get too many shots off at us. The only tricky part with the necromancers is that they tend to group up and conjure the undead, making it very easy to become overwhelmed. The last necromancer we end up facing will be a leveled one, so in our case, it was a necromancer adept, which, fortunately, fell fairly easy to our blade. Located by the leveled necromancer is actually a button that once pressed lowers a false wall and reveals a zombie. To our horror, this zombie is actually our guildmate, Musianus Elias. We receive a quest update that there's nothing more we can do, and that we should return to Hannibal Traven. Musianus isn't hostile towards us, but I decided to at least put his body to rest. It was the least we could do. However, I instantly regretted it because he oddly had a lot of health. He never once landed a hit on us, but it was time consuming and lowered the durability of our blade. But once that was taken care of, we were free to leave the ruins of Nenyan Twill. Leaving through the door brings us back to Zone 1, where we fight one more necromancer. Up the stairs, there's a pressure plate that lowers a false wall that sees us entering into the beginning room where 5th Brigare's body is being never-endingly crushed by the impaling trap. Exiting the ruin, we can now fast travel back to the university and enter into the Archmage's lobby to inform Traven of Musianus' tragic end.
What news of your task? Your face looks grim. What? By the 9, and there was nothing you could do for him? What a horrible fate. I cannot imagine how they could do that to him. So many lives lost. I thank you for trying to save him.
Traven is definitely hurt to hear about the passing of Musianus and his grim fate, and with that, thus ends the quest, liberation or apprehension. When ready, we return back to Hannibal Traven to receive more tasks.
Before we continue, you should speak to Raminus Polus about your advancement within the guild.
Speaking with Raminus, we receive an advancement.
Well met. Your role within the guild becomes ever more essential. You have now attained the rank of Warlock, and are freely able to access the council chamber.
We return back to Hannibal Traven.
There is an urgent matter which requires your personal attention. This task falls to you and only you. Are you prepared to begin? Count Hasseldor of Skingrad has contacted the council. He claims to have information that is vital to us. He has requested that you personally travel to Skingrad to obtain this information. I cannot stress how important it is that our relationship with Hasseldor be preserved. I expect you to visit him immediately. I am unsure as to why he has requested that you, of all people, should be the one to visit him. I have no wish to put you in harm's way. Please pay a visit to Count Hasseldor in Skingrad. If his information is as vital as he claims, we need it as soon as possible.
Our old friend Janus Hasseldor has requested to see us specifically and immediately. We leave the Archmage's lobby, sell some of our wares at Jensen's Good as New merchandise, and then fast travel to Castle Skingrad. Arriving at the castle, we speak with the Count's stewardess, Hal Lurs.
You are here to see the Count, yes? He has been expecting you. Please, wait here. I shall inform him of your arrival.
We wait 1 hour and speak again with Hal Lurs.
The Count is on his way. Please remain here and be patient.
We wait 1 more hour, and Janus Hasseldor appears in front of us.
Welcome, Guild Mage. We meet again, although in different circumstances. I fear this time you may find the results no more to your liking than the last. Less so, perhaps. The information I have for your guild will not be met with smiles and handshakes, I fear. I have called you here because, from our previous encounter, I believe you can be trusted. Consider the implications of that as you handle a small matter for me. Surprised? Nothing is for free, mage. There is a small nuisance I would have you deal with before I tell you what I know. One good turn deserves another, after all. And miss the opportunity? To take advantage of your help? I think not. I assure you, the information I have will be worth your time. It is a minor situation, to be sure, but neither I nor my guards can become directly involved. A nest of vampires has sprung up in Blood-Crust Cavern, southeast of the town. They are a threat to the town and must be eliminated. Their presence has drawn a group of vampire hunters to town, following rumors of vampires in Skingrad. While I do not believe my identity has been compromised, I do not wish to take any chances, and so cannot act on either matter. You, however, can act with impunity, and so will take care of this for me. Then, I will tell you what I know. A troublesome lot. I expect you to deal with them. There are at least 3 of them. I know only one by name, a wood elf, called Eridor. He's rather good from what I understand. I could handle them myself, but it would be unwise to display my prowess in public. That is the folly of the young and proud. Of course, should you be caught murdering them in the streets, the guards will respond accordingly. I can't be connected with this, remember? This I cannot say. I have refrained from expressing too much interest, lest their attention be turned towards the castle. The citizens will likely know more. I imagine many have noticed their presence here. Kill them. Run them out of town. Do what you will. I simply want them gone. Of course, should you be caught murdering them in the streets, the guards will respond accordingly. I cannot arouse further suspicion by offering leniency to you, should you find yourself on the wrong side of the law. Very well. What do you wish to know about it? The cavern is a short distance east of the castle, far enough from town that few residents have reason to pass by it, thankfully. I assure you, I am not responsible for them. I would never be so careless. Where there are mindless animals, predators are never far behind. This is not the first time such a thing has happened, however. On some level, they're aware of my presence. Whether they covet all that I have, or simply wish to see it destroyed, I do not know. They have given in to their instincts, and are little more than animals. They need to be exterminated, one way or another. Very well.
Of course, like Hasseldor himself said, nothing is for free, and this information that he's holding on to comes at a price. The price? Simultaneously getting rid of both vampires and vampire hunters in County Skingrad. The vampire hunter we want to speak to is a wood elf named Eridor. We found Eridor standing around outside of the chapel. Speaking to him went like this.
Oh no, not another one. Ahem. Citizen of Skingrad, please be advised that I am here on official business and wish no harm. Oh, forget it. Let me guess. You're worried about what my men and I are doing here in town, right? You have my assurance that my men and I will do everything in our power to keep the people of Skingrad safe. We're here to help. If you have seen anything unusual, particularly anything implying the presence of the undead here in town, please report it at once. All I care about is where the vampires are hiding. I know they're here somewhere. You know where they're holed up? Is that so? Well, perhaps we'll have to pay them a little visit. Thanks for the tip, friend.
The conversation almost didn't go our way, however, we seem to have saved it at the end. There are multiple ways to take care of this quest, and the way we chose to do it today is the easiest in my opinion. The hardest way would be to kill Eridor and the vampire hunters, and then separately kill the vampires of Bloodcrust Cavern. However, we run the risk of being fined for murder, and we have to eradicate a whole nest of vampires on our own. Next, we have the option of exterminating the nest of vampires, show Eridor the vampire dust that we collected, and then him and his men will move on out of town. Thirdly, we can tell Eridor where the vampires are located, like we did, and simply let them take care of the rest on their own. Due to the quantity of vampires in Bloodcrust Cavern, the vampire hunters will likely all die, but they will take out most of the vampires with them, leaving us with just needing to kill off the remainder. Or, we do it the fourth way. Eridor and his crew of vampire hunters will now go to Bloodcrust Cavern, in which we will join them on their hunt. This way, we have more numbers to help us fight off the nest, we can level up our combat skills, and it adds a bit more fun to the whole ordeal. After waiting a few hours, Eridor and his crew finally arrive at Bloodcrust Cavern. We go inside to meet them and join the fight. Bloodcrust Cavern has only one zone to it. It's a giant circuit, so you can pick a direction of either left or right, and you'll eventually kill your way back to the entrance. There are a total of 10 Bloodcrust vampires, which are non-respawning, and are actually similar in stats to vampire matriarchs/patriarchs. It's very important to carry a potion of cure disease, or to visit a chapel or way shrine after clearing out this cave, as you're likely to contract porphyric hemophilia. It really did make it easier rolling through the cavern with the hunters, as it could have become overwhelming at certain zones if we were taking all of the aggro. As we slow rolled through the zone, killing as many creatures of the night as possible, one by one, members of the crew would get killed in the process. Eventually, it was just myself and Eridor left fighting off a few vampires, when the young and mighty vampire hunter himself was killed in battle. At this point, we received a quest update saying all of the hunters had been killed, meaning that part of the bargain with Hasseldor was completed. We quickly finished off the remaining 3 vampires and received another quest update that we should return back to the Count. Exiting the cave and fast traveling back to the castle, we speak once again with Howlers.
You have completed your tasks for the Count, have you not? Then, please, wait here while I inform him.
We wait another hour just to hear again from Howlers this familiar message.
The Count is on his way. Please remain here and be patient.
Waiting once more, the Count finally shows up.
So the work is complete. Now we can discuss the information I have for you. The cavern is silent once more. I would be foolish to think that this might send a message to those who would encroach on my territory. Your guild does not fully appreciate the danger which quickly approaches. Hopefully, when you return to them, their eyes will be opened. The Necromancers are a sign of things to come. An old acquaintance of the guild has come to Cyrodiil, and they are answering his call. While I do not know for quite what purpose he has arrived, I believe the Guild of Mages is in great danger. Mannimarco has returned. Nearly invincible, he has established himself somewhere in the north of Cyrodiil. This is all that I know. See to it that your leader, Traven, learns this as soon as possible. I have no love for your guild, but I have no wish to see it destroyed either. I have told you all that I know. Mannimarco has come to Cyrodiil, and I believe he means harm to your guild. Traven must know this. Even I know that some from your guild have defected to join him. I believe you can be trusted, as you have been attacked once already. Perhaps it is a mistake to make that assumption. Only time will tell, I suppose. He is an old and powerful necromancer. Traven will recognize the name even if you do not.
Mannimarco is a name that you may or may not recognize. He is an old, powerful, and infamous necromancer that has appeared in multiple other installments of the Elder Scrolls games. Before spearheading into the lore of the Elder Scrolls, this reveal barely meant anything to me. Now, knowing his reputation and the history that surrounds him, the reveal is quite entertaining. Returning back to Hannibal Traven at the Arcane University, he has this to say about the shocking news.
What news from Skingrad? I assume you've spoken to Count Hasseldor? What? Is that possible? This is grave news indeed. I had, perhaps foolishly, believed that necromancy was all but stamped out in Cyrodiil. It seems I couldn't have been more mistaken. I shall need to consult the council as to how to proceed with this situation. Thank you for the information. It may save many lives.
It definitely seems like Traven knows of Mannimarco and the reputation that precedes him, just as Count Janus Hasseldor said he would. And with that, thus ends the quest, information at a price. Speaking to Hannibal Traven too soon after breaking the news of Mannimarco's return will invoke this response.
My attention is focused on the council right now. I will need you soon enough. I need more time.
So, we wait 24 hours for a new day to begin, and return once more to speak with the Archmage.
The council is in complete disarray at the news of Mannimarco's presence in Cyrodiil. The King of Worms has obviously targeted the guild, but we have no idea why. No demands have been made. All of my attention is devoted to the council. We must discern the reason for this sudden attack and stop Mannimarco before he destroys us all. I am unable to look into something that has been brought to my attention. Are you capable of going on my behalf? Good. Please go to Bruma. I have not heard from Jean Frasoric for a few days now, which is unusual for her. While I welcome the break from correspondence with her, I worry that something may be amiss given recent developments. Find out if Jean is all right and let me know if she needs anything. Make sure she's all right, will you? It's not like her to avoid contact with the university for so long.
The Bruma Guildhall is where Jean Frasoric tasked us with finding Jaskar for our recommendation. The Guildhall seemed to be full of camaraderie and laughter, mixed with a communal punching down on its leader, Jean. We fast travel to the northern city and immediately make our way to the guild. Upon entering inside, we're met with a ghastly view. Fires are roaring, furniture and walls are destroyed, and bodies are laying lifeless on the floor. Our quest updates and says that we should look for any survivors. The Guildhall is now infested with faded wraiths. There are immediately 3 of them that we face in the entrance area. My character actually had an extremely tough time defeating these wraiths, and it was the closest we've come to death while playing through this questline. Even with our newly enchanted dwarven longsword that absorbs the health of its victims, it couldn't keep up with the spells and blade use of the undead. I ran my potions dry pretty quickly and had to resort to spam healing with restoration. The wraiths even have a spell that damages our strength, which in this instance left us immobile and vulnerable. At one point, we even had to take the easy way out and run out of the Guildhall to receive aid from the guards and citizens. All the meanwhile, we were fleeing for our lives while taking aggro. The final batch of wraiths saw us able to cheese the fight by getting them stuck in a stairwell and swinging at them like a maniac with our longsword. Eventually, all of the wraiths were defeated and we could head to the final unchecked place, Jean Frasoric's personal quarters. Arriving there, we see a female necromancer standing over the body of a once incompetent but wholehearted guild leader. Camilla Lolia, the necromancer in question, comes over to speak with us.
What have we here? A visitor? I'm afraid you've missed the party. The guest of honor has already left. You won't be leaving, though. I'll see to that now.
This battle is definitely a lot easier compared to all of the wraiths we just killed. A few relentless swings with our dwarven longsword, and Camilla was defeated.
Are they gone? I was too afraid. I just couldn't move. I could hear the screaming, but I just couldn't move. He killed them all. Just slaughtered them. I saw his face. I saw the King of Worms. I couldn't believe my eyes. I think the only reason I'm alive is because I was invisible. But even so, I think he saw me.
He killed them, one by one. Volinaro was last, I think.
He was trying to run away, but he didn't make it, did he? The King of Worms stood over him right before he died, and it looked like he sucked out Volinaro's soul. He said something about Echo Cave and destroying the Mages Guild. Then he looked right at me and grinned. You've got to do something. You've got to tell Archmage Traven. He might come back if he knows I'm still here. I'm not staying here. I'll go to the Imperial City. Hannibal Traven can protect me.
Jaskar actually saw Mannimarco himself, whom the Necromancers all seemed to call the Guest of Honor, attack and sap the life force from all of the Bruma Mages Guild members. The Necromancers were so bold and powerful, they managed to defeat an entire hall of mages. We returned back to the university and continued to break the bad news to Hannibal Traven.
Any word from Jean in Bruma? He was the only one left? This is worse than I thought. From what he's told you, Mannimarco, the King of Worms, is here in Cyrodiil and preying on our guild. This is something I'd never have dreamed. We'll need a few days to digest this new information. Should Jaskar arrive here, we'll see to it that he's well taken care of. Thank you.
And with that brief conversation, Traven has revealed that he and the guild are in disarray after all of these attacks and aren't quite sure on how to proceed or to prevent these attacks from happening. It seems like the guild might not be as readily equipped to handle this situation as they once thought, and as time passes, the Necromancers are getting stronger and stronger. And with that, thus ends the quest, a plot revealed. We return back to Archmage Hannibal Traven to see about more tasks.
Before we continue, you should speak to Raminus Polus about your advancement within the guild.
We go to the Archmage's lobby to seek out Raminus Polus for our advancement.
Good day. Truly, you are an asset to the guild. I reward you with the rank of wizard and teach you a most powerful spell.
With that out of the way, we can now proceed with Traven.
At the worst possible time, the council is in ruins. A course of action could not be agreed upon. Some felt that we are in danger of being exterminated and that it is time to fight back. Others felt it appropriate to fight fire with fire, as it were. The council has shattered and artifacts have been lost. The Necromancer's amulet and the Bloodworm helm have been taken. A group of mages led by Erlav Chorrol took the helm and have retreated to Fort Telemann in an effort to study it further. They hope to learn enough from it to find some way to fight Mannimarco. I tried to dissuade them, but it was no use. I would like the helm returned so that it may be kept safe here in the university. I fear Erlav has made himself a target for the Necromancers. Karanya insisted on removing it from the university. She said it posed a threat to the safety of the Imperial City. While I do not doubt that she was right, I question whether her motives were genuine. She seemed all too eager to explore its power. I fear she is not safe from the minions of the King of Worms. She is at Fort Ontus. Please go there and return with the amulet. Help her to see that she should not use the weapons of the enemy, especially out of fear. It was last seen in the possession of Erlav Chorrol. He was taking it to Fort Telemann. I can only assume he is still there. Please, return the helm here before any harm comes to it, or those who are using it.
We received 2 quests from Traven. The first one is to retrieve the Bloodworm helm from Erlav Chorrol at Fort Telemann. The second one is to retrieve the Necromancer's amulet from Karanya at Fort Ontus. We'll go ahead and begin with retrieving the helmet. After exiting the lobby, we look at our map and see where Fort Telemann is located. It's in the southeastern portion of the province in County Leyawiin. The closest site to the fort that we discovered is actually the Ayleid ruin, Adatar. where we hunted down Azani Blackheart for the Fighters Guild. Traveling to the ruin, we hop on our horse and set course for Fort Telemann. Arriving at the fort, we're immediately met with Necromancer resistance outside of the ruins. This is a bad sign, as Erlov Chorrol is supposed to be guarding a very important artifact just through the doors inside. Entering inside, we receive a quest update expressing the urgency in finding Chorrol. Fort Telemann has 2 zones to it. The first zone, simply titled Fort Telemann, is a fairly linear area that consists of 3 rooms and a few lengthy passageways. We're likely to face 4 to 6 necromancers in this area, along with a boss level necromancer just before the door to the second zone. With the necromancers, they're either the easiest enemies to face, charging head on into battle, or they're the most irritating, running away after conjuring an undead to aid them. The second zone is called Fort Telemann Order of the Black Rose. Similar to the last zone, it consists of mostly smaller passageways with only a few wider rooms. We actually walk into the midst of a battle between necromancers and Daedra. There are 3 necromancers in this zone and approximately 7 to 8 Daedric enemies. We ended up facing Clanfears, Flame Atronachs, and Scamps. Taking the pathway all the way to the end, we end up in a dead-end room with the body of Erlov Chorrol lying lifeless on the ground. Guarding his body is actually a Frost Atronach, which is considered to be the boss level Daedra. We managed to kill it pretty easily by using Sinweaver, our fire-enchanted elven claymore. Looting Chorrol's body, we see that he still has the Bloodworm helm on his person. Looting it, we receive a quest update that we should bring it back to Traven. The quest item is a light armor helmet that fortifies conjuration for 6 points on self. I imagine that lore-wise, if Mannimarco got his hands on it, he would use it to offensively conjure stronger creatures in hopes of moving against other guild halls or even the Arcane University. We leave Fort Telemann through a side passage that was previously unattainable to get to. It brings us back to the main room where we can exit the fort and fast travel back to the Arcane University. Once back on friendly territory, we seek out Traven to give him the helm and inform him on Erlov Chorrol.
Have you recovered either the Bloodworm helm or the Necromancer's amulet? Erlov is dead. I tried to warn him. I tried to tell him it was a mistake to leave with the helm. I shall return the helm to a secure place in the tower. It's the least I can do for Erlov. Thank you.
Now it's time to go ahead and retrieve the Necromancer's amulet from Chorrol at Fort Ontis. Traven believes that she made off and went into hiding with it in order to ensure it stays out of the hands of necromancers. Exiting the Archmage's lobby, we look at our map and see that Fort Ontis is located in the Imperial Reserve just near the Colovian Highlands in the western part of the province. The closest location to the fort that we've discovered is the Shrine of Sanguine. So, we fast travel there, hop on our horse, and set course for Fort Ontis. Along the way, we ride past a bandit camp and encounter a large timber wolf. Eventually, through some pretty hardcore scaling, we find ourselves at the entrance to the fort. The good news is that this time there are no necromancers guarding the entrance, meaning they must have not figured out Chorrol's location yet. We receive a quest update expressing urgency in locating and retrieving the Necromancer's amulet. Upon entering inside, we quickly come across a friendly mage who appears to be a part of the Mages Guild. Speaking with her sounds like this.
You'd better talk to Chorrol before you do anything else.
Speaking with Chorrol seems to be an urgent matter. Making our way through the first zone of Fort Ontis, we come across multiple friendly mages. In fact, all of them say the same message, to speak with Chorrol right away. We make our way to the second zone called Fort Ontis Understreets. Here, we see 2 more friendly mages standing in the passageways. Progressing further, we raise a portcullis and descend into a room that leads into a big open area where Chorrol is located. It's here that something doesn't quite feel right, and when we look around the room, we actually notice necromancer banners along with zombified bodies and cauldrons full of human skulls. It's here we begin to speak with Chorrol.
Well, this is quite a surprise. I thought you were Traven's lapdog, doing whatever he said. And yet, here you are. Good that you've finally seen the light. The cause will benefit from your assistance. What? You're here to take it back to Traven? Oh, my dear, I'm afraid you're in over your head. I don't answer to Traven. I heed only the word of Mannimarco. When he has the amulet, his power will be increased and Traven will be helpless to stand in his way. You, I'm afraid, won't be standing at all. I promise I'll make this quick. I'd like to have you mostly intact, so Mannimarco can suck the marrow from your bones.
And just like that, it's revealed that Chorrol is a traitor to the guild and has defected over to the Order of the Black Worm. She never intended on protecting the amulet, only to hand it over to the King of Worms himself. Chorrol turns aggressive towards us, and the battle begins. She conjures a faded wraith and casts a spell on us that drains our strength, leaving us over-encumbered and vulnerable to every attack. The faded wraith deals heavy damage and has quite a lot of health. We pull out Sanguine Rose and cast it on the wraith, conjuring a scamp to help us defeat the duo. Eventually, the spells wear off and we're free to move again. Chorrol is one of the annoying necromancers that I was talking about. She would cast spells, conjure the undead, and then quickly back up and run away. All the meanwhile, she would run into rooms where her fellow necromancers are located, and they would join the battle, leaving us to become overwhelmed. Our conjured scamp managed to take out one necromancer, and we slayed the other. We used Sanguine Rose on Chorrol, spawning in a Frost Atronach. She used a Drain Strength spell again on us, and her Faded Wraith kept hitting us with ranged attacks. It quickly became do or die. We used a scroll to summon a Clanfear for extra help, and eventually, the two Daedra overpowered the traitor, and Chorrol was defeated. We went up to the body and looted the Necromancer's amulet off of her. Returning back to the first zone, we encounter more Necromancers, whom of which are relatively easy to defeat. However, that being said, we actually did die once while fighting our way out of the fort. We aggroed too many Necromancers at once, and our gear was no longer enchanted, as well as on the verge of breaking. So, we ultimately fell to the enemy, even though we were merely steps away from exiting the fort. Running it back, we were more cautious and slow-rolled through the dungeon, trying our best to only take on one necromancer at a time. Eventually, we defeated all of the traitors and were able to safely exit the fort. Once outside, we opened up the map and fast-traveled back to the Arcane University. We made our way to the Archmage to inform him of Chorrol and to give him the Necromancer's amulet.
Have you recovered the Necromancer's amulet? Chorrol turned on the guild? I don't understand. She was one of my most trusted advisors. The situation grows more dire with each passing day, it seems. I fear where this will end. The amulet is safe, however, and that must be enough for now. Thank you for returning it.
We go to the Chironasium and speak with Martina Floria in order to charge our enchanted weapons. Now, we can go back to the Archmage and ask about more tasks.
On you. Before we continue, you should speak to Raminus Polus about your advancement within the guild.
We go to the lobby where Raminus is found and ask about advancement.
Well met. I can truly consider you an equal, and so grant you the rank of Master Wizard. There is no higher rank which I can bestow upon you. You have my congratulations, and my thanks.
We're now Master Wizards in the Mages Guild. With our newfound rank, we speak again with Traven.
Time is against us, and our enemies grow stronger. There is much to do and little time in which to do it. Your next task is essential. Word has been sent that the Necromancers have been quite busy creating black soul gems for their master. In particular, a unique black soul gem has been crafted in the south of Cyrodiil in the ruins of Cylorn. This gem needs to be confiscated and brought here before it can be delivered to the King of Worms and used against us. No, I have need of it. I believe it may be instrumental in saving our guild. I will explain once you have returned with it. Until then, discussion is useless. I've spoken with several individuals I cannot name at this time. Count Hasseldor has also provided valuable information, as you well know. A contingent of battle mages has been sent to the site. I would like you to oversee their actions on my behalf. The only thing that matters is that gem. Do you understand? Once you have it safely in your possession, return here immediately. Know that you have my complete confidence. I would not entrust this job to you if I did not feel you were prepared for it. Now go. You must make sure the gem does not reach Mannimarco. We are doomed if it does.
We're to head to the alien ruin of Cylorn and retrieve a unique black soul gem from the Necromancers. Cylorn is located in the west weald of the province, just southeast of Skingrad. We fast travel to Bloodcrust Cavern, the nearest location to Cylorn that we have available to us. From here, we hop on our horse and ride a short distance southeast. Along the way, we're attacked by a Spriggan and its black bear. The Spriggan hits hard, but we hit harder. Eventually, we arrive at Cylorn and come across a group of battle mages awkwardly standing around. We approach and speak to them.
You're here from the council, aren't you? Traven sent you? Just you? That helps the odds, but not much. We're still going to be outnumbered. Follow me. I'll show you what we're up against.
We follow Thalfin to the foot of the ruins to get a better look at what's going on here.
This is it. The entrance to Cylorn is just ahead. You've been watching the site for a while and have tried to stay out of sight ever since the original plan was blown. We were supposed to storm the place and take this gem they're holding. Only we can't. There's some sort of enchantment on the door. That door's sealed. There's no way we're getting inside. So we'll have to wait for them to come out. Based on the activity I've seen, that should be very soon. What other choice did I have? We were too exposed standing around outside the door. I lost one of my men already, and I wasn't willing to lose more. Rollis tried to make it through the door. He's the one that realized this wasn't going to work. One of their patrols spotted us, and Rollis went down. So we're stuck. All we can do is wait for them to come out. Then they can't hide any more than we can, and it evens the odds quite a bit. All we can do is prepare for them to come out. Once they do, it'll be our best chance to get the drop on them. Of course, since we can't get inside, we don't know how strong their numbers are, or whether we really have a chance at this. Traven sent word that he wanted you in charge, so you've got it. You're in command. Tell us where you want us. If I may, I'd suggest that you put us in the best possible positions based on our abilities. But it's up to you. I have to admit, I'm better with an axe than I am with magic. I've been working on spellcasting, but I still feel better with a weapon in hand. There are 2 good locations to hide. One near here, and one closer to the door. Where do you want me to wait? Okay, I'll go over there now. Let me know when everyone is ready.
At your service. What do you need? I can manage with a weapon or with spells, but I've really been working on healing lately. I'm getting pretty good at it. Where should I wait? Up close or farther back? I'll try to help whomever I'm near. You've got it. I'll do my best to keep everyone healed.
I'm ready to fight. Where do you need me? Well, I excelled in my studies in magic, especially large-scale spells. I'm pretty accurate with them, too. More accurate than swinging a sword. Do you want me to stay back, or stay up nearer to the door? Right. I'm on my way.
After we assign everyone their roles and positions, we make our way back to the Vanguard and speak once more with Thalfin.
All right, I'm ready. Keep your eyes peeled. They could come out at any moment. And don't move until you have to. We don't want to lose our advantage.
Peeking around the corner, we can see a pair of necromancers pacing back and forth. After a little bit of time has passed, we see 2 more necromancers exit the ruin and join up with the others. All 4 of them are now headed directly to our hiding spot. Leading the pack is a face we haven't seen for a long time, the former Cheydinhal Mages Guild leader, Falcar. The group nears our spot, and the three of us jump out to attack in close quarters. Immediately, Falcar the traitor runs back into Cylorn, while the other three necromancers stay back and fight us off. They aren't difficult to fight, but the issue is with so many friendly NPCs around, it's hard to control where our swings go. I found myself accidentally stealing life from the battle mages far too many times for my liking, so we went passive and let them take care of the rest. Once the fight was over, we spoke with Thalfin.
Get the gem! The leader probably had it. That high elf! Get it back to Traven immediately, or else this whole attack was a waste.
The chase is on. We quickly rush to the doors of Cylorn and enter inside. Cylorn contains 3 zones. The first of which, simply titled Cylorn, contains 8 necromancers in total. Most of these necromancers were the ones to conjure an undead, and then rush into the next room in hopes of other necromancers aggroing onto us. There are a lot of passageways and doors located around this zone. Among those doorways, 2 of them lead into Zone 2, called Cylorn Sedorcelli, and 2 of them lead into Zone 3, called Cylorn Burocelli. For this quest, we only need to go to Cylorn Burocelli. However, Sedorcelli has a Varla stone if you're interested in grabbing it. Burocelli can only be accessed through the unguarded bridge in the biggest area of Cylorn's first zone, as the other door is locked by a key. There are 2 gates controlled remotely that need to be lowered in order to cross the bridge. However, we cheesed it by jumping around the edges of both gates and onto the other side of the bridge. Once across, we entered through the door leading us into Cylorn Burocelli. Here, we battled 2 more necromancers. Both were relatively easy to defeat with them charging at us head on. In the second room, there is a button that, when pressed, opens a casket to reveal a Varla stone. Now, it's time to face Falcar, as he is in the next room over. I was really hoping that there would be some dialogue, but unfortunately, there wasn't. Upon seeing us, Falcar turns aggressive and instantly begins attacking us. Falcar has a decent amount of health and can cast some decent destruction spells, but to be honest, he wasn't too difficult of a fight. He used an elven dagger and didn't conjure any creatures or undead to aid him. Relatively quickly, we were able to defeat Falcar in battle. Going up to him and looting his body, we see a key called Falcar's Key and also a strange stone called a Colossal Black Soul Gem. We take both, and now it's time to exit the ruins. The compass wants us to continue through Cylorn Burocelli to leave, but we decided to leave the ruin through the way we came in. Truthfully, this was done to avoid any more conflict with the necromancers, plus we already knew the way out. Returning back to the first zone and then exiting the fort, we fast travel back to the Arcane University. We make our way to the Archmage's lobby, take the teleporters, and inform the Archmage of our findings.
Go. Find Thalfin and the other battle mages. Stop the gem from reaching Mannimarco. Dedicated to the last. I cannot thank you enough for bringing the gem here. I have need of it immediately. We have much to speak of and very little time. A new task awaits you, and it is by far the most important you have been entrusted with.
It's here we return back to the Chironasium and the Slash and Smash one last time to charge our enchantments and to repair our damaged armor and swords. We then fast travel back to the Arcane University and speak one last time with the Archmage, Hannibal Traven.
I know what purpose this soul gem is meant to serve. It is meant to house my very own soul, to be absorbed by Mannimarco and increase his power. You were sent to acquire this gem so Mannimarco would not get his hands on it. With it, he would have marched on the university and come for me. There would have been little anyone could do to stop him. Now, however, I believe you have a chance to defeat him. When you are ready, I have a final task for you to undertake. It will, undoubtedly, be the most important service you perform for the Guild. Are you truly prepared for this task? I cannot be certain what awaits you, but I am sure we will not speak again after you begin. Then hear me, and hear me well. Mannimarco will have what he seeks, but it will be his undoing at your hands. With this gem in your possession, you will be impervious to his attempts to enthrall you. When he fails, that is when you shall strike. When we are done speaking, you will take this gem, you will then seek out Mannimarco and destroy him. Get to him any way you can. It is your only hope for defeating him. I have full confidence in you, and so I leave the guild in your care. When I am gone, you will be recognized as Archmage and leader of the guild. Lead your fellow mages and lead them well. The future rests on your shoulders. Farewell, my friend.
In an instant, Traven casts some form of destruction magic on his own being and dies. Doing so, he fills the colossal black soul gem, which allows us to get up close and personal with Mannimarco. As Traven said, he won't be able to do any magic that steals our soul or enthralls us. Looting Traven's body, he has a Staff of Ruin, Archmage's Robes, Archmage's Key, and the filled colossal black soul gem. We take what we need and exit the Archmage's Tower. As once mentioned before during the questline, Mannimarco is held up in Echo Cave, a natural cavern located west of Bruma. Peering at the map, our closest discovered location to it is a place called Boreal Stone Cave. We set a course for there and fast travel over. From here, we ride our horse up and down some steep hills until we're at the entrance of the cave. When we arrive, we're approached by an unfriendly face.
You would dare to approach the King of Worms? If you seek an audience with his grace, you must open this door. I hold the key, and I will die defending it.
The Necromancer, Bolor Savel, begins to attack us. He isn't a very difficult fight. A few heavy attacks with Sinweaver, and he was defeated. Searching through his body, he has the Echo Cave key on him, which we take to gain entrance inside. Upon entering, we receive a quest update saying it's time to find Mannimarco and put an end to him. There are 3 zones to Echo Cave. The first zone contains 7 necromancers and approximately 4 to 5 undead. Most of the undead we ended up facing were skeleton heroes, with a few of them being ancient ghosts. There are 5 rooms in this zone, and each room, barring the third, contains 2 enemies. Once we've made our way through the passageways and rooms, we find ourselves at a door that leads to the second zone, Echo Passages. I found a great strategy for maneuvering through these areas was to simply use the Necromancer's own tactics against them. We pulled out our mage's staves and spam attacked until the enemy was defeated, backing up when we needed to. The staves actually did a fair bit of damage and had a decent charge to them. When the charges ran low, we would switch to a weapon with a soul trap enchantment, fill a soul gem, and charge our staves for more usage. The main downside to this, however, is that we don't increase any of our combat or magic skills by attacking with a staff. So, while we rolled through pretty easily, we were missing out on a lot of experience. The second zone, Echo Passages, contains 4 necromancers and 5 undead, so fairly similar to the last zone. This zone has 3 rooms, which are all accompanied by small narrow passageways. The first room contains 2 enemies. The second room is a gigantic winding canyon which sees us fighting off 4 enemies, all of which happen to be undead for us. And the third room contains 2 more enemies. From here, if we choose to travel downwards according to the local map, we would come across 1 more enemy, and would be at a door that leads back to Zone 1. By going through the left passageway of the local map, we come to a door that leads to the third zone, Echo Necromancer's Chamber. Entering into Echo Necromancer's Chamber, we're faced with either going right or left right off the bat. We chose to go left. This way, we come across a small room that contains a boss-level necromancer. We both were casting spells at one another via our staves, all the meanwhile, we had to avoid their conjuration of a headless zombie. They would run into the next zone, and I tried very hard to make sure that we contained our fight to this room. Eventually, we got in close and beat them down using Lifestealer. Now it's time for the big face-off. We enter into the next room to reveal a giant open area. There appears to be skeletal remains of something gigantic sticking out of the ground. There is a body of water flowing around the sunken areas of the raised islands. Looking across the way, we can see a ghost lingering on one of the islands, yet we choose to ignore it for now. Working our way up the middle through the connected landmasses, we lay eyes on the King of Worms. At this point, we decide to charge our staff one last time as it hasn't let us down yet. We slowly approach Mannimarco, who is standing amongst zombified bodies, skulls, and Necromancer banners, and we speak to him.
I see Bolor was unsuccessful in delaying you. Very well. I shall reanimate him once we are done here. Perhaps we shall chat for a while, since you really have no other options. I must say, I expected Archmage Traven, rather than his star pupil. I am disappointed to see that he could not face me himself. I have met so many of his predecessors over the years. I developed a particular fondness for Galerion, ill-preserved though he may be. But here you are instead, skilled enough to make it this far, which speaks volumes about you. Perhaps you'll be as useful to me as Traven would. Oh, my dear, I didn't mean to imply that you have a choice. I will make you another in a long tradition of worm thralls, and take my time in studying you. Your very soul will be forfeit to me. Power, my dear friend. I seek power, and so I acquire and study those who have some degree of it. We are after the same things, your guild and I. Yet you worry about good and evil, and do not accept they are manifestations of the same thing. So you brand me a villain, and make vain attempts to destroy me. I watch, and I wait, and I collect you when you come for me. Instead of drawing Traven out, I have received you instead. Perhaps I shall personally go and collect him when we are done here.
It's at this point that the final battle begins. To be completely honest with you, maybe it's because we were spam attacking with our mage's staff of shock, but this fight was rather not difficult. His main weapon was a silver dagger, which he decided to use instead of his spells. He did conjure an undead, and he did cast some form of destruction magic on us, but it wasn't enough to even get our health down to half. After a few shocks, Mannimarco, the King of Worms, was defeated. We received a quest update, and the massive bones which had trapped us before have retracted back into the ground. Looting Mannimarco's body, he has the Staff of Worms, which reanimates a dead target for 30 seconds to fight by our side. We also take his robes, as those might be fun to wander around in at the university. We loot the surrounding area and find some nice enchanted weapons as well as some potions. To exit the cave, we leave through the door connecting us back to Zone 2, the Echo Passages. From Zone 2, we can leave through the downwards path, which saw us fighting one more undead on the way out. We ascend up a ladder, and that brings us back to Zone 1. From here, we're actually in the upper levels of the canyon. We drop down, make our way through the tunnels, and we'll find ourselves back at the exit to Cyrodiil. From here, we open the map and fast travel back to the Arcane University. We can enter back into the Archmage's lobby, where Raminus Polus is waiting to speak with us.
Archmage, you have returned. Mannimarco has been defeated? I can hardly believe it. The King of Worms is no more. I received a note from Archmage Traven. I know what he did for us and that he selected you to take his place. I will mourn for him during my own private time. For now, I cannot help but rejoice. You have brought safety to the guild, and I thank you. I've already sent word to all the local guild halls that you are now in charge. Congratulations, Archmage.
From here, we're rewarded with the Archmage's robes and hood, and have officially completed the Mages Guild questline in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Before we talk about the Mages Guild as a whole, and I give my thoughts on it, there's one more little mini quest that we need to take care of. we quickly speak again to Raminus Polis.
It's my pleasure. Please, continue. As the Archmage, you are entitled to certain privileges. In addition to the full use of all guild facilities, there is one service available to you. Juliana Fanis has long served Archmage Traven in collecting alchemical ingredients for his personal research. As the new Archmage, I'm sure she'll extend the service to you as well. At your convenience, consult her at the Lustratorium.
From here, we make our way to the Lustratorium in the Arcane University and enter inside. We find Juliana Fanis standing at the back of the room and speak with her.
It's my pleasure. Please continue. Ah, yes. Archmage Traven was quite fond of making potions in his spare time. So much so, in fact, that it became difficult for me to meet his needs. I finally accommodated him by enchanting a very special chest for him. You'll find it in the Archmage's quarters. Once a week, place a single ingredient in the chest. After 24 hours, you'll find a sizable quantity of the ingredient available for use. Do be prompt in collecting them, however. Anything left in the chest for a full week will be destroyed. And before you ask, yes, this only works with ingredients. Be very careful in what you place in that chest. I can't be held responsible.
Thus ends the quest, Alchemy Acquisitions. It seems like every faction has a way to either make money or gain some form of passive income once you've completed all of the quests. And for the Mages Guild, we can have a never-ending supply of alchemy ingredients. So, let's talk about the Mages Guild. Here's what I liked about it. I enjoyed the recommendation quests. Again, I can't believe I'm saying it, but if you go back to one of my older videos where I discuss annoying quests in Oblivion, I actually have the recommendations on that list. I truly would go back and remove them from that catalog. The recommendations are an amazing introductory to the guild halls, and as pointed out by a commenter, it really feels like an appropriate way to be inducted into the guild, as it feels like we have to work for it. I really enjoyed both quests that involved Count Janus Hasseldor. Ulterior Motives, while predictable, was still fun to play along with and get caught up in the twist and ambush from the Necromancers. Information at a Price, in my opinion, was done very well. It was really interesting to have to simultaneously run both vampires and vampire hunters out of County Skingrad. Not to mention, we got to make our own choices which would have altered how the quest is done, which is always a plus in my book. A Plot Revealed was definitely one of the best quests in the entire questline. Seeing the decimation of the Bruma Mages Guild and the dead bodies of our fallen guildmates was such a shock and demonstrated the overall power of the Order of the Black Worm. I also really enjoyed how our character didn't need to fill in any specific archetype or role. We could just play with the build that was intended for our character, and we didn't have to adjust our playstyle at all to what we were dealing with. We didn't have to be a mage or battle mage in order to complete this questline. Now, let's talk about what I didn't like. One of the things that I thought the Fighters Guild did right was to scatter in plot points regarding the Blackwood Company throughout the questline, and at the same time, most of our quests were about our respective duties and tasks as members of the Fighters Guild. We actually served a purpose from within the faction. At the Mages Guild, I don't really know what purpose we were supposed to serve. The recommendations had us mostly doing personal errands for the hall leaders, and almost all of the university quests had us learning about the Necromancers. The only quest that really felt like we were doing something to aid the guild in research was Vodin's secret, and even then, we gave the helmet over to Erlov Chorrol, and we never heard anything about it again. To sum up these points, I wish our role in the guild was more defined than an errand runner. I wish there were more quests that didn't deal with the Necromancers, although I'm fairly certain that's what the recommendations were for, so I won't be too harsh with that. And I wish we could have had some follow-up on some of the earlier quests we did, like Vodin's secret and the Leyawiin or Chorrol recommendation quests. I also understand that the Mages Guild is a place to learn and study the arcane arts, and less so a job or career like the Fighters Guild or Arena is. So maybe some slack can be cut when it comes to not having a clearly defined role in the faction. Another complaint I have is similar to a complaint I had for the Fighters Guild. I'd like to see the big bad antagonist of the opposing faction more than once. Just like how we only saw the leader of the Blackwood Company during the final quest of the Fighters Guild, we only see Mannimarco during the final quest of the Mages Guild. For me, it would have made our meeting a lot more personal and intense if we had at least gotten to run into Mannimarco and spoke with him once before the quest, Confront the King. At least we actually get to speak with Mannimarco, as we didn't even get to interact at all with Rizikar during the Fighters Guild, other than to fight him. Overall, I enjoyed the Mages Guild questline. I think the Fighters Guild had a more fleshed out story, but I think the Mages Guild had a better antagonist faction. The Necromancers posed a way greater threat to Cyrodiil than the Blackwood Company did, although that's likely debatable given they were slaughtering innocent people during simple contracts. I hope you enjoyed how these videos were done. Instead of shortening an entire faction's questline into an hour, like we did with the Fighters Guild, or making a long detailed video outright, I broke down the Mages Guild questline into 4 videos, and then the plan is to splice them together to create one long complete video for your uninterrupted enjoyment. If you made it this far, and liked the way I formatted the Mages Guild questline, let me know down below. Until next time, keep on adventuring.